Hey, if you're new to my channel, then consider liking and subscribing. It would really mean a lot to me, and honestly, it'd make my day. If you already did, thank you so much. Oh, and by the way, if you like listening to fan fiction, check out my other channel. The link's in the description. Once again by Double M7. Lady Toki grants Luffy one last chance to correct his mistakes. Luffy was sent 12 years into the past in order to relive his life. Though there was a catch, he retains his 19-year-old mind and body. How will he change the world? For the better. Adios.
Straw Hat Grand Armada 4th Commander Arlong, the Saw, versus Don Quixote Pirate Senor Pink. I wouldn't sweat it. A clean hit to the nose was all it took for his opponent to start bleeding. Arlong tapped his foot. No really. Don't worry about it. Fine, are you ready now? Sure, let's continue. Strange, the conversation between Arlong and his opponent, Senor Pink. He was a respectable opponent, though something was off about him. He seemed like a mafia dude, but something was aching on the back of his mind. Arlong could feel it. He's been training with everyone aboard the ship. Maybe this is what they call hockey. Senor Pink struck his fighting post, though a bit hesitant. Something was really bothering him. Alright, what is wrong, man? Arlong dropped his guard and asked his opponent man to man. Nothing, man, just get on with it. I need to be somewhere after I finish with you. First of all, you have no chance in hell of beating me. Second, where is this place you need to go? Arlong stared into Senor Pink's eye, to which the skeptical Don Quixote agent returned the look. They both stared off each other for a good 5 minutes before Senor Pink finally broke the gaze. Alright, fine, my kid is going to be born any minute now. That's why I'm in a hurry, okay? Are you freaking serious right now? Your kid is being born and you're here carrying out someone else's agenda. Arlong scratched his head throughout this. His ideals have changed throughout the year he's been with the crew. No longer was there an ounce of human-hating gene on him. I owe a lot to Luffy. Look, man, I'm going to be straight with you. Arlong leaned against a wall and pulled out a cuber from his pants pocket. He then took a bite out of it and began eating. Senor Pink had a confused face as to where the hell that cuber came from. Doflamingo will fall today by the hands of the king. So we can do two things. We fight where I will beat the living hell out of you and you miss your kid being born. Or we can both go to where your kid is and you can be a dad. Walk away from the life of crime. No, man, if I walk away he'll kill me, and once he learns about my family, he'll kill them too. Senor Pink lowered his voice. For some odd reason, he was considering Arlong's offer. Again, bro, we will not lose. How many times do I have to say it? In that same moment, Brûlé had been keeping Sugar occupied by keeping her confused in her mirror world. Gem had defeated Gladius but was now being carted off somewhere by two strange people. Bentham and Galdino defeated their opponent in an impressive manner. Robin made quick work of Giola as her abstract art was no match for a well-trained Nico Robin, especially under the tutelage of the Straw Hats. Fine. Alright, man, I'll trust you. Let's go see my son. Alright, let's go. Arlong pulled out a mirror as he ran alongside Senor Pink. Brûlé's face emerged on the other side. Hey babe, how are you doing? Good, this toy kid is annoying. Brûlé responded with an annoyed look on her face. Okay babe. I just want you to know that I'm going to go with him to his baby. He then winked at her, blew her a kiss, and hung up. Though there was a mistake. For some reason the connection had broken up, and now Brûlé was blushing feverishly. For all she heard was this, okay babe. Well, I'm going to want you with baby. And Brûlé was more motivated than ever to end this Dressrosa fiasco so she can get together with her girls to discuss this major step in their relationship. Straw Hat Grand Armada 3rd Commander Rob Lucci versus Don Quixote Pirate Virgo. Virgo had his arms crossed, standing tall and proud. Lucci also had his arms crossed, though he was analyzing and observing. Get out of my way, pirate. I will arrest you. Virgo was already in full marine attire, ready to return to his pose within the marine ranks. He was in deep undercover duty within the marine ranks, feeding information to the Don Quixote pirates. How else would they have known an area as vast as Dressrosa? Cut the crap. We have reason to know that you are full of shit. Lucci continued to stare down Virgo, who remained in character. So Lucci did the most logical thing in his mind. Soru, causing him to disappear in thin air, appearing close to Virgo. Hekai, Lucci hardened his body to take the possible exchange with the marine pirate. Shigen, Lucci then began to launch a series of strikes all throughout Virgo's body. Ironically, the marine blocked all of his strike in the same style that he was unleashing to him. Shigen, Virgo was also a master of Rokushiki, and then something else was about him. Lucci gritted his teeth as each of his strikes was met in consecutive, accurate manner. He was mocking him. But why would he do that if he was in such a hurry to return to post? Soru, Lucci attempted to add more speed with his strike, but yet again, Virgo matched him with his own form of Soru. To think that a washout such as yourself would feel like you can be a match to a real master of Rokushiki. Rob Lucci, former CP9 standout. I know about you. Virgo commented as he did not fail to block Lucci's strikes. So you pay attention to me then? Lucci decided to heighten it up to a new gear. Bet you don't know about this. Lucci pulled his left arm back, covered it in a resin-like substance, activated both Soru and Shigen, and in one combination strike, Lucci brought his left arm forward at such speed that it seemed to have broken the sound barrier at a sound of a loud crack. High left fist connected with Virgo's abdomen, causing him to be knocked back several steps. Though something was odd, his uniform now has a massive hole on it due to the strike, and yet he did not cough up blood, nor did he double over in pain. His sunglasses fell from his nose, but he was able to catch it on time. He then wiped it with his uniform and returned it into place. Virgo then raised his head and looked directly at the confused Lucci. He then grabbed hold of his uniform, ripping it out of his body and thus revealing that his entire abdomen was covered in the same thick resin substance that Lucci used to strike him. Though Virgo expected a look of fear from Lucci, what he got was the complete opposite. He was happy. Whoa! You have got to teach me how you do that. Lucci frantically threw his arms around, and even more impressive was that he managed to maintain his armament haki for longer than his 5 seconds from a year ago. HMPH. Virgo began to pull his bamboo from his back holster, but he wouldn't get any time to retrieve his weapon. Lucci suddenly appeared beside Virgo, taking the bamboo from his hands. Cool weapon. He looked it over and threw it over his head. Virgo looked at him in a confused manner. Oh, you didn't think that was my actual speed, did you? The man who picked everyone's brain was finally able to apply his training, and he was enjoying himself. It seems like Lucci had been holding back. Soru, Shigen. Fine then. Virgo attempted to activate his own 6 powers, though it was for naught as Lucci finally went full power, using his haki-infused fist to now hit Virgo despite the demon bamboo's attempt to match the strikes. Earlier it was not a problem, but now, Virgo was not able to keep up. What the fuck are you? I'm a straw hat. Lucci delivered his finishing blow, connecting with the guts of Virgo. Despite the haki armor, Lucci's armament-infused fist was stronger. Virgo doubled over and fell on both knees, then fell flat on his face. Alright, that wasn't so bad. Straw Hat Grand Armada 5th Commander, Soul Prince, Brook vs Don Quixote Pirate Lao Ji. Brook revealed his blade then in a blink of an eye. He was standing behind Lao Ji. Not a second was wasted as Lao Ji fell forward, his body emitting a frozen breeze. Brook then returned his blade inside his cane to where his spirit came into full effect as Lao Ji's soul was cut from his body. In the time with Luffy, Brook has learned to harness his devil fruit and use it to his advantage. He could now freeze his surroundings with his kai, could also cut people's soul out of their body, and he could also choose to return it to them. He was Brook of the Straw Hat Grand Armada. No longer will he be pushed around, for his friends, and for his own pride. Straw Hat Grand Armada, Pirate Queen, Hancock vs Don Quixote Pirate Monet. Hancock found herself embracing her opponent who had been crying. How did they get to this point? Well, they were fighting like normal, and the snow user would rely on her logia devil fruit. And Hancock had used her haki and superior close combat capabilities to gain the upper hand. Monet would then accept that she can't win, so she began to appeal to Hancock through sympathy. She began crying on how she felt like nothing and she was just following orders, and jumped at a chance to embrace the Pirate Queen. Though there was something off about this, it seems very familiar, and sure enough, Monet pulled a gun on her. Funny enough, Hancock saw it coming. Go figure. Who would have thought Miss Doublefinger would teach her something about trusting others? Not today. Hancock said menacingly as he held the pistol to her hand and turned it into stone. She emphasizes her dominance by crushing the pistol into dust. Monet, well, she finally learned her place, finally understanding that she would not get out of this fight alive. Fine. Fine. You win. Monet held both hands in the air, finally understanding her defeat. She took several steps back, continuing to hold her hands up, and eventually fell on her butt. She sat on the ground and awaited her fate. Go on then, end me. Hancock just stared at her intently, trying to do the thing that Luffy does to people, to read them and see what they are about. She used to be a killer first, find out information later. But she has grown out of her empress role and is now Luffy's queen. And to be his queen, she would need to be merciful. So Hancock opened her mouth then closed it again, frustration filling her mind. She then threw a roundhouse kick, effectively knocking out Monet. Lucky for her, it wasn't a killing blow. Gah, forget it, she'll figure it out later. She then used her mirror to call everyone. Anyone available yet? She called. Straw Hat Grand Armada 6th Commander Crocodile vs Don Quixote Pirate Traybull. Stop it, stop it. The mucus user was getting annoyed, largely because Crocodile kept missing his sand with his body. And sand sticks really well to mucus. Guess what, Snot Nose, once I kill you, I'm going to kill the damn flamingo brain. Then while I'm at it, I'll kill Mugiwara too if he's not paying attention. You're Mugiwara's puppy dog now, Crocy. You could have been Doffy's partner, but instead you choose to ally yourself with a squirt who's not even worth Doffy's little toe. Shut the fuck up, Traybull. Crocodile held the golden hook of his left hand over the neck of the mucus user. I only truly serve myself, you understand? Fine, fine, Crocy. I get it. Listen, I'll work for you instead. Though Traybull was saying one thing. His loyalty was unwavering towards Doflamingo. Traybull then fell on all fours, crawled towards Crocodile's feet, begging him to be spared. I'll shoot you straight to the top, I swear it. Is that right? Traybull thought he had him hooked, though truthfully, Crocodile could care less. He brought his right foot back and kicked Traybull straight through his guts. Layers of snot clinged onto the leg of Crocodile as soon as his kick sent Traybull flying. Fuck. He molded his legs into sand to allow the snot to slide off of his legs. Kind of like a snake shedding his skin. Crocodile shedding its skin? Weird thought? Alright, that's it, Crocy. I'll kill you. Though his threat were empty as Crocodile turned into sand and manifested himself behind Traybull, chopping him on the neck. The snot user fell on his face, knocked out. I should kill you, I should. But you rotting and impelled down will be just as satisfying. With a final smirk, Crocodile slowly turned into sand and floated away in the air. And Traybull, well, he was out, unable to protect his dear Doffy. Straw Hat Grand Armada 2nd Commander Dracule, Hawkeye, Mahawk vs Don Quixote Pirate Pika. Pickyerera. You big sword buffoon. Pika was an excellent fighter, whose ability allowed him to turn himself, or anything he touches, into stone. Mahawk, despite his precision, would get in contact with Pika, but he would simply turn himself into a stone to avoid the cut. Pika would travel along his ability, causing Mahawk to hit nothing but stone. Laugh as you may, but the end of this battle has been predetermined. Mahawk brought his black blade close to him and closed his eyes. Pika looked at his opponent in confusion, reverting to his normal form, following what his opponent was doing. Which was nothing, foolish swordsman. You think you're some big player just because you got offered a position with the warlord. Doffy is a current warlord, and guess what? Your precious Captain Mugiwara will die today. I guarantee it. With one fell swoop, Mahawk opened his eyes and went through Pika. Black Blade Mountain Cutter, in slow motion. One would see Mahawk dash forward, covering the distance between them. Not a second was wasted as his movements were fluid. Mahawk brought his blade from Pika's right waist all the way through his left shoulder, providing a massive deep cut through the flag user. In real time, it seemed that Mahawk disappeared in less time than it would take to blink an eye. The stone user did not even have time to react. How? There was a lot of that within the opponents of the Straw Hats. They all doubted their capabilities, and once their ass gets handed to them, they question their loss. Pika was no exception to this. My captain has said that you would be annoying. I thought it would be through battle. But alas, it was your voice. Mahawk then rubbed his temple as Pika fell on both knees. Then he returned his black blade on his back as Pika fell flat on his face. Straw Hat Grand Armada First Commander, Dogtooth, Katakuri vs Don Quixote Pirate Diamante. Diamante correct? Who's asking? My captain sends his regards. Katakuri brought out his hands and his trident manifested from thin air. He then took a jab straight through the neck of Diamante, but the flag user was ready. He turned himself into a flag just in time to follow the spike of the trident user. Each strike was met with the perfect movement of his flag body, avoiding instant death. Though Katakuri wasn't one to become frustrated, he remained focused and adamant in striking down his foe. You ha 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 fool. Stab as you may, but none will hit me. Even in flag form, Diamante pulled out a sword in his shirt pocket and began to exchange strikes with the mochi user. He would harden his blade when meeting Katakuri's trident, showing the mastery in controlling his technique. Though what Diamante failed to realize was the match was already over as soon as he was marked. Lucci, Arlong, Brook, and Mihawk wanted a piece of Diamante, as the captain specifically said to kill this one. But Katakuri overruled everyone's request and took him on himself. Perks of being first commander. Diamante carelessly flicked along the strikes of Katakuri as a flag, but suddenly, Katakuri scraped his cheeks. The mochi user drew blood. It must have been a fluke. But then another cut in his upper arm, then another in his legs, and the final strike that scared Diamante was a precise strike aimed for his heart. Luckily he was able to block with his sword. It was as if Katakuri was seeing what he would do before he did it. What sorcery is this? Diamante continued to try and dodge, but he was getting cut no matter what he did. My captain has taught me this ability. Katakuri's mochi barrage completely caught Diamante in a corner. Each fist-shaped mochi punch met with different parts of Diamante's body, and despite his flag form, they were all finally connecting to see into the future. Blood escaped from the mouth of Diamante. He could not keep up any longer. Katakuri just kept on pounding and pounding with HDY failed to form into a flag to alleviate the impact, therefore he was receiving everything in full power. Though the nail to his coffin was when the punches ended, though something pierced him. Something wasn't right. Diamante coughed up more blood as he was pinned against a wall, hundreds of yards away from his original position. He slowly looked down and found a trident was the object that pierced him. To literally drive his point, Katakuri covered the distance, grabbing the handle of the trident and burying it deeper into Diamante. And Katakuri got close to Diamante's ears and whispered, "Captain sends his regards." To which Diamante responded with a long breath, exhaling for the final time. Straw Hat Grand Armada King, Mugiwara, Monkey D. Luffy vs Don Quixote Pirate Captain Don Quixote, Joker, Doflamingo. It's funny how it has been 2 years since he went back in time, and yet, the most serious he got was throwing a Gear 3rd pistol right through Crocodile. He laughed at himself to the confusion of the fallen celestial dragon. Mingo, are you ready to die? Luffy was suddenly covered by clouds as his muscles began to inflate. I will never die. Doflamingo responded as he flicked his fingers. String cutter, the string traveled through the air nearly undetected, hardening at impact with Luffy in order to cut him. At least that was the plan, but the string simply went limp before it even reached Luffy. It was as if he had a force field around him, rejecting anything that came close. The cloud that covered Luffy in his transformation finally cleared, revealing Luffy in his full glory. Gear 4th, Bound Man. Luffy had his right palm forward, and his right arm back. He bounced on both legs as he waited for Doflamingo to make a move. For the first time, someone finally saw his 4th gear in this timeline. Doflamingo unleashed 2 string clones to charge at Luffy, though it only took 2 palm strikes to destroy the string clones. He has now also mastered the art of projecting haki through his body without needing contact. He was absolutely a monster. This time, Luffy would not let Doflamingo get an ounce of offense any longer. He pushed through his defense and bombarded him with his King Kong Gatling. The string user was 10 years younger than in his timeline, and it was noticeably weaker. And Luffy would just use the same moves he did to defeat the guy, adding his new mastery of Ryu. So Luffy bombarded him with really heavy punches, not allowing him to breathe, not even a second. And an opening finally presented itself, to where he could ultimately end the man known as Doflamingo. He pulled his palms back, aiming for the chest of the warlord, connecting. Luffy made sure to hit his heart with his final strike. All the pain that Doflamingo inflicted throughout the world, what he was going to inflict to this world. The slave trading, espionage, trickery, weapon trading, all of his underworld work can't happen. His fist connected with the chest of Doflamingo, and a loud crack indicated that his chest plate was destroyed, and the sharp shards of his chest plate should theoretically pierce his heart. Blood escaped the lips of the string user as he fell backwards. It was sort of like slow motion. Memories of his exploits went through his mind before finally falling flat on his back, spread eagle style. He was now choking on his own blood as Mugiwara watched him. "Why are you watching me, fucker? I'll kill you. I'll kill you." Though Doflamingo, despite his influence, power, and manipulation, fell to the hands of Mugiwara that day. Luffy reverted back to his normal form. The taxation on his body for using Gear 4th has been reduced to nearly no damage on his body. The year-long training with his crew really did help in allowing him to manage his abilities. "Bye, Mingo. I hope you are hunted in the afterlife by your sins." Luffy then stood there, overlooking the unmoving body of the former celestial dragon. He had to be sure that he would no longer torment the world. How long was it that he just looked at his unmoving form? Though finally, after some time, Luffy snapped out of his hate-infused stare down at the arrival of 3 people. One of which was Gem, who remained passed out of exhaustion. Another was a taller man with a cigarette over his mouth. He took out the cigarette, threw it on the ground and twisted his cigarette and took a deep breath. He then exhaled and looked at the form of the fallen warlord. "You're the real deal after all. Duffy. It's unfortunate it had to end this way." Luffy recognized the smaller of the pair. He was probably the same age as Ace, maybe a tad bit older. He held a familiar blade over his shoulder, striking his ever-so-familiar posture. "Mugiwara, you finally showed up." And he exchanged handshakes with the smaller man. This time, his all-power vision came through. He must need to see what happened to. Luffy fell on his feet, finding himself on an open field, and it was snowing. An enraged, yet poised Doflamingo stood over his brother, a pistol on hand. Not a word was uttered. Doflamingo released the bullet from his pistol, showing little to no mercy. A small yelp could be heard within the confine of the treasure chest behind the fallen warrior, though no noise escaped his range. It was his final gift to his friend, his final way to say goodbye. In a similar manner that Luffy observed Doflamingo to make sure he died, the warlord did the same in this time. As it was clear that the fallen marine would not survive, Doflamingo finally began to walk away, slowly and painfully. No matter what power he had, or how much money he pocketed. He just had to kill his brother due to his betrayal, and with that thought, Doflamingo left, accepting that his brother was a traitor. No, he never had a brother. As the snow continued to fall, the little man inside the treasure chest finally made his way out. Strange how this little man had no tears over his eyes as he looked down on his fallen comrade. He then kicked him. Not once but twice, to which the second kick was caught by the fallen man. "About time. That hurt," stated the man on the snow-covered ground. He then sat up and dusted the snow off of his clothes. "I didn't think you had it in you." "What do you mean? I did that perfectly." "Alright, fine, you did that well." The taller man mixed the hair of the smaller boy. "Your timing with the no mi allowed the switch of the bullet and the crushed tomatoes to take place." The taller man then went to dig for something inside the treasure box, finally finding a bullet. He looked over it and chuckled to himself. "Imagine this tiny thing was going to kill me today. Well, whoever this Mugiwara guy is, we have to thank him. He saved our lives today." "And you didn't want to believe the letter he sent you?" "Shut up, Corazon. You didn't believe his letter at first either, but he was very knowledgeable on when and where it would go down. Time traveler, you think? Or just really trained in observation? You know there are people who are so well trained in observation hockey, that they can see in the future? Nah, there's no way, I'm telling you, time traveler." And the duo walked away from the scene, disappearing from Dressrosa. For within the letter, another part indicated that he would find them, that is Mugiwara will in due time. And that ended the vision. Finally Luffy returned to modern time, mere seconds from his exchange with the 2 people before him. Dressrosa, Castle. So what are we going to do with them? Mihawk had his arms close. It had been a day since the entire happening of Dressrosa. The citizens were made aware of King Riku's innocence with the assistance of the Tontata tribe. Monkey D. Luffy and the Straw Hat Grand Armada have once again become the savior of a nation. In the present, Mihawk had his arms crossed, leaning against a pillar within King Riku's castle. Hancock sat on a chair with her left hand resting against her chin. On the other side of the room were Katakuri, wearing his scarf to intimidate the captives within the room. And to complete the most fearsome members of the Straw Hat Grand Armada, Crocodile was phasing around the prisoners, attempting to intimidate them. In the middle of the room were the members of the Don Quixote family who survived the exchange, the ones that the crew deemed could be converted. Sugar sat beside her sister, Monet. Being devil fruit users, they were bound by sea prism cuffs. Joining the sisters were Macvis, Gladius, and Baby Five, who had been in the care of the Don Quixote family since she was a little girl. Arlong has yet to return after leaving the premise with Senor Pink, but he had been checking in regularly with the crew to let them know what he had been up to. If it's any consultations, I never really liked working for Daffy. I just did cause he would have killed me and taken my fruit in. Macvis, exclaimed Monet, one of the more loyal members of Daffy. What? It's true. He only cared about his cause we were useful in. Gaw, I hate to admit it, but think about it. If none of us had useful devil fruits, you think he would have saved us? Gladius was the next person to chime in, the man who lost to a booger. I mean Sugar, with her very convenient toy-making ability that turned King Riku's soldiers into toys. And everyone forgot them Then Monet. You have a very powerful Logia-type devil fruit. Snow Should I continue Macvis did not have to continue as his cuffs fell from their binding. Crocodile seemed to like the guy enough to set him free. Alright then, Muscle Brain, you get to join under me. Crocodile patted him in the back, sending him to Crocodile's area, where he would join and wait for the meeting to conclude. I don't want any crew members. Mihawk remained in his pillar, unmoving. He was never one to take subordinates. Alright, if I'm joining, I'll be in the Big Meanies division, Baby Five proclaimed. Though Mihawk had a perfect retort for her. If you try, I know the perfect place to ship you off to. It's a little place in the East Blue, where a certain blonde-haired idiot will bore you to death. I don't care, I want to be in the Big Meanies crew, Baby Five pouted, to which Hancock chuckled. To annoy Mihawk even further, Hancock released Baby Five from her bindings, to which she began to climb up on Mihawk and pull on his face. The youngster, she was quite the bundle of energy. Me too. Sugar was also let out of her cuffs to join Baby Five in annoying Mihawk. The two girls were pushing their luck, and yet Mihawk did not retaliate. It was a funny sight to see, unexpected and hilarious. Monet, with your strength, I wish for your assistance in the First Division. Katakuri chimed in on possibly the most powerful of their recruits. I believe that the king will like you as well. Emphasis on the like. Hancock inserted her own view in terms of how Luffy wanted a harem, and a king deserves a loyal following. While Katakuri and Hancock were having a non-verbal exchange for the services of the snow user, Crocodile also freed Gladius. You're in my crew now, Bomb Man. But you lost to freaking Gem. You idiot, I'm gonna have to beat you into shape. Yes, sir. Replied Gladius as he joined Macvis. The two shared a powerful high five in being given a second chance to right their wrongs. Monet had been looking back and forth between Katakuri and Hancock. She could not believe that people were arguing for her. It made her feel wanted. More so than Daffy ever made her feel. I would like to join the First Division. But I would not be opposed to joining the king during the evening if he wants me also. Monet spoke up for herself, to which Katakuri and Hancock gave her a look, but they respected her decision. Her cuffs were removed, and finally the Straw Hats each obtained members for their crew. While all but Mihawk, who was dead set on shipping the kids to Zeph. Red Leg owed them after saving him on the Death Rock after all. So it was complete. The newest addition to the Straw Hats were as followed. Monet joins the Straw Hat Grand Armada First Division. Sugar and Baby Five were going to be brought to Zeph by Dracula Mihawk, although they insisted they would like to join his division. Last but not least, Crocodile managed to take both Macvis and Gladius under his division. Though there was someone missing. Where were Virgo and Senor Pink? Unknown Town Delivery Room. Arlong had been waiting outside the delivery room, phasing back and forth in anticipation. Senor Pink had been in the delivery room for half a day now, and there's no indication it would end any soon. Suddenly Senor Pink finally made his way outside of the room with a shocked look on his face. Arlong began to fear for the worst. The expression on the man's face was a mix of shock and dread. "So how was it?" Arlong spoke carefully, trying not to trigger the man. "Blood everywhere. There was blood everywhere," began the confused warrior, though his expression changed instantly to a joyous expression. "But my Russian is doing well, and also we have a boy, a little one named Gimlet." Arlong blew a sigh of relief. The new father gave his new friend a hug. "Thank you for convincing me to be here for my wife and newborn baby." "Ah, of course man, you're dumb for fighting for Doflamingo instead of being here for your family." "Yeah I know, well anyways I guess it's time to return to Dressrosa. Just beat me up good to make it seem like I put up a fight." But Arlong hit Senor Pink on the back of his head. "How many times do I have to tell you that there was no way we would lose, and I meant it. The Straw Hats have won, and Doflamingo is dead." To this Senor Pink dropped the cloth which he had been holding. "Aren't you glad that wasn't you kid? Shahaha. No way, he's really dead. Yeah man, I told you. Plus we implemented some of your crew members into our own division." "Who?" "Ah Macvis, Gladius, Sugar, Baby 5, Monet, and some other guy the first forgot his name." "No way. You guys are super strong. I thought Duffy was invisible. I want in," Senor Pink proclaimed, revealing a blade. "I wish to signify my undying fealty to you by blood." He was about to cut his hands open to signify his loyalty, though Arlong stopped him. "Listen men, I like you, but I need you to take care of your family instead. I can't imagine what it would do to them if little Gimlet's father is not with him." Senor Pink put away his knife and understood Arlong's request. "Thank you. Again you are amazing Arlong." Senor Pink proceeded to cut his hands anyway. "It may not be now, but one day when you need me, I will aid you and the Straw Hats." "Boss Arlong." At first he was a bit irritated, but he warmed up to his actions. He smiled at the statement. "I got to go back to my people." Arlong gave Senor Pink a thumbs up and proceeded to make his way outside. "But I'm counting on it Senor Pink." "Goodbye boss." Senor Pink took a bow and returned to his wife's side. Russia Weekly gave him a smile. "We still have to talk about your real life Mr. Banker, but he is really a pirate." Senor Pink flinched at the threat of his wife, though she gave him a kiss on the cheeks. "But another time, for now let us take care of our Gimlet." She proceeded to hand over the baby to Senor Pink. He carefully took the little baby and began to rock him left and right. Little Gimlet gave him a toddler's precious smile, causing a tear to fall from his eyes. "I love you so much Russia. And you my little Gimlet." Meanwhile Arlong had been walking and a thought finally popped into his head. "Oh yeah. I remember the last guy now. That guy Lucci beat up. Virgil. No was it Vibana? Nope that wasn't it. It was Dressrosa. Plaza. The 3rd Division commander was in charge of civil assistance. He had happily taken on the job and put his crew to work. Galdino was more than happy to help, while the newest recruit wasn't so nice at the first meeting. The 4th Division members, Brûlé and Gem, along with 5th Division Commander Brooke, and member Bentham, were also assigned to the project. Robin, from the King's Harem, was also involved in the restoration project. The Tontata tribe were also in attendance, becoming crowd favorites after their efforts the previous day. Lucci was on a brief water break when his newest recruit joined him, drinking some water for himself. Though funny enough, the man had a glass of water stuck on the bottom left corner of his face. "Why am I free to walk around?" the newest recruit asked. "Because even if you try anything, I'll just beat the shit out of you again." It was true. Lucci was not lying. "Fair enough, but first I'm a Marine officer, a traitor within their forces. They're going to come after my head." "Sure they are, but I was the best in the business. As of last year, there was no one better than me in assassination. So you'll be okay. You got the entire armada behind you now." "I am loyal to Dafi." "Who is dead?" "Right." Then the man began to return to his duties within the civilian assistance project. He had been assigned on debris cleanup. "Yo Virgo, keep your head up. You're a straw hat now." To this Virgo began to walk away, but his frown was replaced with a grin. That he was. Virgo passed over Brooke and chuckled as he saw the skeleton commander performing an entertainment show for the little ones. He also had Bentham perform multiple roles with his devil fruit ability to create the perfect show. Brooke had been performing as the toy reaper who takes toys from children who do not clean after themselves. He was popular with the kids. They especially liked it when Brooke monologues as a spirit. Brûlé had been giving snacks and drinks to the children as the adults were busy restoring their town. She was assisted by Robin, who was listening to her concerns. I mean, I want children, but not right now. We are both in danger all the time, and a child would endanger us, right? Brûlé had been repeating what Arlong said the other day about having children. If you truly love each other, and you both decide to have children now, then go for it. No, I will tell him not yet, it is not the time. Her worries then turned into a knowing grin. So, you are one of Captain's queens. How is that? Robin replayed the kiss that they shared months ago, and she had been actively avoiding any chance that they would be alone. Luffy made her heart flutter, though she did not know what to do with her emotions. She knows what he would want from her in terms of being in bed, but she was not sure if she was ready for that. Meanwhile, Hancock would always tell her about what things they were doing, and it would always make her hot all over. Earth to Robin, hello. Brûlé noticed the deep blush of Robin, to which she took the opportunity to tease her further. Thinking about it, huh? She began to nudge Robin, knowingly causing her to feel even more embarrassed. Tonight. I will do it with him tonight, she announced, to which everyone, and it means everyone within the plaza, heard. She turned beet red in color and she began to run to bury her head under some rocks or something. Dressrosa throne room, I can't express enough what you've done for us. Mugiwara, anything you wish, I can make happen if it is within my power. King Riku was sitting on his throne. Beside him were Princess Viola, Princess Scarlet, baby Elizabeth in her lap, and Kairos. The citizens were just going to have to learn to accept that Princess Scarlet married Kairos into the royal family. Though that was an issue for another time. For now they had a guess, Mugiwara. I am humbled. I only truly wish for 4 things. Name it, Mugiwara. Anything. 1. Dressrosa's loyalty under my flag. 2. For the members of the Don Quixote pirates who survived. Send them off to Impel Down. 3rd, there is one member of the Don Quixote family I want you to consider to join your ranks, Pika. He may be annoying, but he will be useful to you and your land made mostly of stone blocks. Each of his requests was met with an approving nod of King Riku's head. Lastly, one of my men will be present as your entourage for next year's Levele. I do not protest any of your requests, Mugiwara. By tomorrow the Marines will be called in to place members of the Don Quixote pirates in Impel Down. And as far as Pika, I will have Kairos propose a job for him within my army. Then your last request. Sure, who do you have in mind? And to this Luffy smiled. Some time passed as the group continued to exchange pleasantries, and it was time to excuse himself. I enjoyed my time with you all, but I will need to excuse myself. I have to return to my crew. Mugiwara, I do have one request for you. To this Luffy looked at the king with curiosity. To solidify the alliance, I ask that you take my daughter. I understand that you have a polygamic relationship. Princess Viola got up and stared Luffy directly in his eyes. I am flattered, my king, but I am a firm believer in choice. I do not want to force a young princess in a relationship which she does not want. I'm sorry to interrupt, Mugiwara-san, but I'm far from not wanting. Her voice was laced in mystery, one in which he knew he would learn of later. For once, Luffy was at a loss for words. In Alabasta, it was an easy no since Princess Vivi was a little girl, though he seemed to have locked himself in a contract with her once she came of age. But here in Dressrosa, Princess Viola was the same age as him. Princess Viola approached him, slowly. She then got close to his face, just one more motion and she would kiss him. Though instead of doing so, she whispered seductively in his ears. I am yours. To this he shuddered. Her words were laced in so much meaning that he could not wait to interpret. It is settled then, King Riku along with Princess Scarlet, and Kairos smiled at the new relationship that developed within the throne room that day. Princess Viola continued to look into his eyes, and he couldn't help but also stare back into hers. To say it was going to be interesting was an understatement. Night to say that the day was eventful would be an understatement. The defeat of the Don Quixote family has created a massive hole in the underground world. Despite being a massive douchebag, Doflamingo is a very influential figure in the work. The hole which he created was going to be a bloodbath amongst the underground players, Kaido, and even Guild Tessero. Luffy rested on his bed, waiting for Hancock to join him, though she insisted on staying out with the girls as she wanted to spend time with Brûlé and Robin. His commanders and their subordinates were also busy doing their own things. Crocodile had decided to seat his new members, Macbeast and Gladius, and get to know them better. "Listen here, weaklings, I'm going to be your leader from here on out. You can call me Mr. Zero." Then Brook and Bentham were planning their show for the next day while Laboon was going to be a big part of it. Lucci had been pushing Bentham and Virgo to their limits by having them spar. Arlong would join them along with Gem. Katakuri and Mihawk were sharing a drink together, discussing the possible next move of the future king of pirates. While Monet, Sugar, and Baby 5 were sent off to their rooms to rest, it had been a long day. "Eventually we'll have to face the Yonkos and the world government to get our captain to the promised land." Katakuri began to drink his barrel of beer, chugging it down. "Sure, but we will be ready." Mihawk had a glass of wine and he was twirling it. The darkness of the night was perfect for giving off the mood of the Calhears. No way that they would rest in Dressrosa for a long time. Captain was planning something, and he knows it. Elsewhere, Hancock was indeed hanging out with a girl, but someone was noticeably missing. "She said she'll do it, huh?" Brûlé was by Hancock as they were both sharing stories of their life. "Yeah, I'm so glad Robin finally found the courage. She is his queen." Hancock took a bite off of an apple. "Last time she saw Luffy was after the meeting with the royalties of Dressrosa, and looks like someone will be joining them." Speaking of the new member. "Hi, I was told you would both be here." Princess Viola joined the duo. "Princess." Brûlé got up and took a bow. "Oh please, none of that, I am simply Viola from here on out. I am no longer a princess but a member of this pirate crew." "Hello Viola, I am Hancock." "Hello, so what should I expect with joining you all?" As Viola was getting comfortable with the other ladies of the crew, one particular woman was debating with herself, standing outside the door of the Straw Hat Captain. She wore a robe over her attire. Just the thought of what she was wearing, or the lack thereof, made her blush furiously. Though she made a commitment, she was going to do it today. So she brought her hands up to his door, brewing up the courage to knock. And she brought her hands forward and began to knock. Once, twice, then his voice could be heard on the other side. The very next day, Luffy had summoned the entire Grand Armada. They have been growing in numbers and are now becoming an absolute force to be reckoned with. From the top there was Grand Armada Commander Monkey D. Mugiwara, Luffy, the man who notably escaped from Toto Land alive, headlined the destruction of CP9 Division, defeated Vice Admiral Borsellino, Warlord Crocodile, and Warlord Doflamingo. His head was currently worth 1 billion Barris. 1st Division Commander, Dogtooth, Katakuri remained an undeniable force to be reckoned with. His division currently consists of the Snow Logia user, Monet. He was worth a dangerous 600 million Barris. 2nd Division Commander Dracule, Hawkeye, Mihawk was supposed to become a warlord, though instead of accepting the offer, he joined Luffy to become the world's greatest swordsman. He takes no members in his division. And he is worth 300 million Barry. 3rd Division Commander Rob Lucci brings an interesting dynamic for the crew as his members, including himself, are each sharply dressed at all times. Within his division were Galdino and Virgo. Interestingly enough, he had yet to obtain his first bounty, despite being with the Straw Hats for a year, and killing CP9 Commander Spandine. 4th Division Commander Arlong, the Saw, has become one of the most powerful members of the crew. With the newfound focus and determination, along with members Gem and Lover Brûlé, he has earned a quiet yet respectable bounty of 100 million Barry. 5th Division Commander, Soul Prince, Brook developed a new level of mastery with his fruit. Once thought to be a curse, has become a very powerful weapon in the hands of the skeleton musician. In his command were Bentham and Laboon. His bounty remained the same as it was several decades ago, 33 million Barry. 6th Division Commander, Mr. 0 Feet Sir Crocodile. Interesting enough, he chose to keep his code name, giving them out to members in his division. His initial goal was to assassinate Luffy when he least expected it, but being with the crew for months he probably warmed up to the idea of staying with the crew, permanently. Mr. 0 has recruited Mr. 1 Macbeast and Mr. 2 Gladius. He needed to obtain partners for them. Ever since joining the Straw Hats, his title as warlord was stripped and his bounty was unfrozen, 81 million berry. 2 men were invited for the event, one Don Quixote Corazon, and the other Trafalgar D. Waterlaw. One of which was a marine, but Luffy will try to convince him otherwise, the other was a friend. 4 women occupied seats behind Luffy that were higher than the Armada commanders. Robin, 80 million berry, sat on the far right side. Hancock, also 80 million berry, but it was recently unfrozen due to her allegiance, sat in the between. Next to her was Viola. No bounty, as she is still known as the Princess of Dressrosa, sat on her left. And last was Monet, the woman who was also a member of the First Division, but also wasn't opposed to becoming one of Luffy's queens. As the 4 current queens of the Grand Fleet, they were present for the meeting. Now the leaders of the armadas were gathered in the assembly hall, which King Riku kindly provided for the Straw Hats to use. Luffy sat at the head of the table with a list of things he wanted to cover. "Hello everyone." Luffy began, looking around the group. "I have gathered everyone today for a very important action that needs to occur in the coming year. As you may have all noticed, our crew is getting larger and we will all need our own ships. How do we do that, Captain? Well, there is a place where shipbuilding is their specialty, Water 7. Luffy declared, to which everyone seemed to agree. "Now, this is our final destination for this year in order to get ships of your own. But I need some things handled. Anyone have anything they need to take care of? Any person useful for our armada?" The first to speak was Crocodile, who has become a valuable member of the Grand Armada, though he does insist that when Luffy drops his guard, he is as good as dead. "Mugiwara, there is an interesting guy that I want to locate. I think he will be useful." Crocodile shows some respect to Captain. Katakuri slammed his fist on the desk, to which the sand user continued to flip him off. Luffy raised his hands to defuse the situation. "It's fine, he knows I'll beat him up anyways," continued Crocodile. Luffy directed the sand user to continue while Katakuri continued to shoot dagger at him. "In your dreams, Captain Mugiwara." "Fuck, alright anyway. I met the guy a long time ago. He had a very interesting fruit ability that allowed him to disassemble and reassemble inanimate objects to his whim. I think he'd be useful as a mechanical specialist." Everyone chuckled when he slipped into calling Luffy Captain. He insists that he doesn't like them, but he's grown into his role. "I know exactly who you are referencing, and there's just no way we can get him out of impelled down as we are, and even then, I don't know if he'll work with us." Luffy fought the man in his timeline, and he was a huge problem. As an ally, he would probably be a massive power boost in his already stacked crew, but if an enemy, then he has the power to rival an emperor in a one-on-one battle. Crocodile nodded his head, allowing another to speak. "I wish for the children which had decided to force themselves into my division, to be delivered to Zeph. He will care for the brats." Mihawk was referring to Baby 5 and Sugar, of course. "Alright Mihawk, but meet us back in Water 7. I will provide you a log post to Water 7, as well as request a ship for your journey." Mihawk nodded in agreement to the plan. "Thank you, Captain." Then Luffy continued to look around, not finding another person with any suggestions or requests. "If nobody else has any request, this is what I want from everyone. Katakuri and Crocodile, I need money to fund our ships, which will most likely cost us a couple billion berries. In order to do so, I need you both in your division to locate a man who owns 10% of the world's money. I want him, his crew, and his ship, so find a way to convince them to join. Again, a log post to Water 7 and a ship for your journey." "Aye, Captain," responded Katakuri. There was animosity between him and Crocodile, but orders were orders. Crocodile nodded in agreement, a smirk on his face. "Brook, I need your division to locate 2 giants residing in an island known as Little Garden. They will be valuable allies in our impending war with the emperors." To this Brook gave a thumbs up in agreement. "Arlong, your division needs to travel back to Fishman Island. They have been quiet for some time and I need to know what is going on. If, and I mean if, the Sun Pirates are free, inquire about their interest in joining the Grand Armada, permanently, under your division." "Aye, Captain, but Brook buddy, can I take Laboon with me?" "Sure thing, he would love an adventure under the sea," Brook responded. "My last mission is for Lucci. Your division specializes in intelligence gathering. Am I right that you still have these skills?" "We are the best, Captain," Lucci responded. Good, I need you to find the location of a list of people of interest. I will provide the list afterwards, but they are high-profile targets. If a chance arises, subdue and propose a spot in the Grand Fleet. Luffy then looked around for any questions. Though there was one glaring subject that he needed to address. Law and Corazon will join you. Now as for me, Hancock, Robin, and Viola, we will head straight for Water 7 so that we can begin the projects for your ships. Katakuri and Crocodile, I need your team there as soon as possible so we can pay for all your ships. Everyone else take your time. Any questions? No one brought a question up. Meeting adjourned. Everyone hung out for a little bit, talking amongst themselves. First it was Monet who went to speak with Mihawk. I understand why they need to be taken away. I trust that my sister will be safe. Red Leg is no pushover, she will be alright, responded Mihawk. Good. Then it was Viola who talked with the Grand Armada, introducing herself. They were overly accepting, which made her feel welcomed. Katakuri and Crocodile put aside their animosity to formulate a plan. They had to locate a floating casino. How hard could it be? Brook knew where he needed to go, as Bentham will know how to get to Little Garden, being a former member of Baroque Works and all. Luffy went to Lucci to give him the list of people he needs, or wants to invite in his armada. Really, these people, Captain? I mean, they are strong, but they are also dangerous. Yeah, but you are strong enough to deal with them. Measure them, see what they're about, and offer them a spot if they are worthy. Aye, Captain. Lucci went through the list as Luffy began to talk with his crew members. Beautiful but deceitful, perfect for his crew of intelligence gathering. Very strong player in the underground world. Why would Captain be interested in this man? He knew this guy from training, he will be an interesting guy to convince. This man was a former member of the Rogers Pirate, he needs to be cautious. His abilities are perfect for infiltration, sort of similar to Brûlé, he'll definitely be a valuable ally. Fuck, that was a warlord, how is he going to get access to this person? Very strong, yet his allegiance could be anywhere, he will also be a powerful ally. This woman was trouble, but the captain is taking a particular interest in her, Grand Tessero. It had taken Katakuri and Crocodile a month to locate the floating casino. In order to gain access to the floating paradise, an invitation needed to be sent to them. Luckily, Brûlé had provided them with access to her mirror world through a mirror located in the main bedroom of the ship. Neither Katakuri and Crocodile stayed there as they chose to sleep in other rooms. Within the mirror world, the room contained all the treasure they have gathered throughout their journey, bounty, rewards, etc. So in order to gain passage to Grand Tessero, they had to start spending large amounts of money on different local casinos. Finally, after hitting up multiple locations, an invitation was given to Monet, who happened to be betting a large stack. Now that they obtained the invitation, it was time to enter the casino. Everyone ready? Katakuri looked different, still wearing his signature scarf to cover his mouth, but he now wore a dark black suit. Sure thing. Monet wore a long green dress that showed her ample breast. There was a slit on her right leg that revealed the right side of her butt, enough to keep the men interested in what's underneath. I'm always ready. Crocodile was used to wearing formal attire, though he would not let up on the cigar in his mouth. It was a casino, they were allowed to smoke indoors. Mr. 1 Macvis and Mr. 2 Gladius wore their own sharp attires. Let's go. The Straw Hat members were given a log post to find their way to the floating casino. It took them a day to arrive and it was magnificent. Despite their facade, deep down, they were impressed by the fortress. They made their way inside the casino and found thousands of rich individuals gambling their money away. Thousands of machines, games, and tables, it was a sight to behold. Welcome to Grand Tessero, my name is Baccarat, I trust that your journey was uneventful. In the entrance, an elegant and beautiful red-haired lady greeted them. Beside her was a muscular fellow, possibly the head of security. It was. Responded Crocodile. Sir Crocodile, we've heard so much about you. And Dogtooth, what company? They knew who they were, but did they know where their allegiance laid? We received an invitation to this grand casino, we would like to make money. Monet took center stage as Crocodile and Katakuri was attracting too much attention. Right, well, come on and follow me. I will introduce you to the games. So Baccarat led their group around the main floor of the casino, pointing out some fun machines and table games. Though really, the group was looking for one particular man, a man who made gold with his hands. And that concludes our floor tour. Any questions? When will we meet the owner? It was stated in the invitation that he personally invited us. We'd like to meet our host, stated Monet. Of course, that can be arranged. But for now, do enjoy yourself. Someone will also provide you the keys to your rooms, as well as a voucher for an all-you-can-eat exquisite meal created by the best chefs of the sea. You wouldn't happen to have donuts, would you? It was his one weakness. Donuts was his love. Katakuri and donuts were synonymous. Only the best, of course, Mr. Dogtooth. Bakura responded with a sweet smile. She then took a bow and made her way to greet other guests. The group non-verbally separated. The group found different areas around the casino and began playing, observing, and learning what they were up against. Hundreds of armed personnel, well-trained. Macvis was playing a slot machine. He was breaking even. He spoke softly to a mirror device that allowed them to communicate. He found many armed men entering a particular back door. Probably their weapon cache. He was caught looking by the big guy from earlier, so he casually returned to his game. No blind spot on the cameras. Everything is covered. Gladius was situated at the bar, drinking bourbon. Suddenly, a blue-haired beauty sat beside him. She was a beauty, a sight to behold, and there was plenty of space in the bar, but she chose to sit next to him. The usual for me, please. She called towards the bartender. She then turned her attention to Gladius, who became stiff at her gaze. Hello there, stranger. Join me in room 318. The lady winked at him, grabbed her drink and left the scene, emphasizing each step with a sway. Wow. I'm off radar for a bit. Gladius put his mirror away and tried to locate the room which she instructed him to go to. Fucking Gladius. Damn. Crocodile whispered as he observed Gladius break position. He will receive 10 times the usual training menu. Visual on a tiny raccoon-looking thing speaking with the big meathead security. Copy, moving in. Monet took a sip of her lemon drink and began to make her way to the big guy and the small raccoon guy. Gentlemen, I believe I am lost. They were immediately encompassed by her appearance. She was a beautiful woman after all. Yes, ma'am, what can I do you for? Asked the big guy, to which the smaller guy stepped on his foot. Shut up, Dice. What is it you need, miss? Followed up by the smaller guy. I seem to have lost my room key. Can you assist me? Monet bent down slightly, revealing more skin than either man could have expected. They both were visually red from her actions, but they led her to the help desk where they personally assisted her in finding her room key. Doing this mission with the Straw Hats was fun, thought the new member of the Armada. Move, move. As the head of security was occupied, Katakuri and Crocodile moved forward, casually making their way to the door which the armed men were going in and out. Macvis stayed back to watch the surrounding. As soon as Katakuri went through the door, several armed individuals were shocked and began to fire at him. So he brought forth a mochi wall that blocked the incoming bullet. Crocodile was the next to enter and immediately sent out a sand saber, piercing through the Kevlar armor of the enemy force. I had it, Katakuri said as he dropped his mochi wall. Yeah. And the duo continued forward. They made quick works of the guards as they were nothing but common thugs. Back with Gladius, he finally found the room which he was invited to. He checked his breath and fixed his suit. He then knocked on the door 3 times. The door opened on its own, which was curious, but he made his way inside. That was a mistake, as the blue-haired beauty appeared from above, curling her legs on his neck and twisting her body a certain way to bring him down on the ground. Before he could retaliate, she already had a knife on his neck. She. I am Karina and they call me the Phantom Thief. And you and your merry band of idiots will help me overtake Grand Tessero and its mountain of riches. Got it? With Crocodile and Katakuri, the 2 commanders were deep into the back operations of the floating casino. Though something was odd, they were still not able to find the man they were looking for. Alright, these losers are not what we came here for. Where is the main man? The duo were ascending a spiral staircase. They had located the main tower. Who would have thought there would be a convenient map with the places of interest? Keep alert. Katakuri stood in front of a giant golden double door. Though before being able to open the door, it swung open for them. The man they were looking for got the jump on them. Hello, Dogtooth. A green-haired man with a pink suit was immediately in front of them. How the hell did this guy get in front of him so quickly? Then the man touched him and his body immediately converted into gold. And Sir Crocodile. Crocodile tried to attack the green-haired man with his sand sable, to no avail. He too met his match by turning into gold. In an instant, the first commander and the sixth commander were handedly defeated by one guild Tessero. At least that's what would have happened. Luckily, Katakuri had future sight. Jump back. As in his vision, the door immediately swung open, revealing Guild Tessero. Hello Dogtooth and Sir Crocodile. He said, had he did earlier. Though surprised that Katakuri and Crocodile were able to avoid his golden touch. Any contact with him will turn you into gold, called Katakuri as he summoned 2 donut mochi on his side. Crocodile created a swirl of sand around him, creating an offensive and defensive shell. You are quick, I'll give you that. Now what can I do for you, gentlemen? Guild disintegrated on the golden floor and re-emerged on his bar, pouring himself a drink. Initially he wanted to suspend them in golden encasement, but talking is fine for now. We were given orders to recruit you. Guild directed the both of them to sit down, to which they agreed to, but their guard was still up. Oh, by who? He swirled his drink and offered them a drink to which they both declined. They were trying to read the pink-suited man. Captain Mugiwara, the next king of pirates, declared Katakuri, to which Guild took exceptionally funny. King of pirates you say? That is laughable. He took a high chair and placed it in front of the 2 men who were sizing him up. So let me tell you something, you both wreak havoc with my staff, break into my tower, and expect me to consider such an absurd offer. He then got up and began to walk away. Katakuri and Crocodile shared a look. Suddenly a massive hole emerged from below the 2 commanders, attempting to sink them through the tower floors. Read that Dogtooth. Guild stated in reference to Katakuri's obvious superior observation haki. The entire tower was covered in gold, so much so that the place was basically his personal playground. Katakuri began to fall into the hole, rapidly descending several stories. First and foremost he was shocked that he wasn't able to see it. He kicked himself mentally for missing the trap. And now he had to act quick or he would fall on the bottom floor. His 2 mochi donuts followed his descent, so he launched 2 mochi fists out of the mochi donut to cling him onto the wall. Luck was on his side that day as he was able to stop his rapid descent, stopping right before he would hit the ground. He looked up to the several stories in which he fell, his blood boiling. How dare he mock me? No more playing around for the first commander as it was now time to knock some sense into the golden user. Though strange that Crocodile was not with him. For the sixth commander remained on the top floor, morphing into his sand form to remain afloat. You got to do more than that to get rid of me, asshole. Crocodile had a cocky smirk on his face as he floated in the air. Guild was amused, though it wasn't really in the sand user's interest to stay in the golden room. Look Sir Crocodile, I appreciate the offer but take a hint and get out of here. I am not interested. Guild, in his arrogance took a seat on his golden couch and continued to drink his very expensive whiskey. See, I was just going here cause I was intrigued. Now you've pissed me off, so I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Crocodile descended into the floor and immediately unleashed 2 massive sand tornadoes, both of which quickly made their way to Guild. The gold user simply brought up a golden wall to block the incoming attack. Then he chained it with 2 massive golden fists emerging from the walls of the room. They were aimed at Crocodile but he managed to turn his body into sand, phasing the hit through his body. Crocodile reformed on top of the collided golden fist with an annoyed expression on his face. Tisk tisk. Suddenly, Guild appeared from the golden fist and touched the leg of the sand user. In an instant his entire body was swallowed in gold. With his carelessness, disadvantageous position within the golden room, and stubbornness, the 6th Division commander of the Straw Hat Grand Armada has turned into gold. His golden bust was a sight to behold, powerful and captivating. Guild admired it for a moment before deciding to ultimately destroy it. Goodbye. Though his golden fist never connected with the golden statue of Sir Crocodile. A mochi wall swallowed his punch before making impact. Guild jumped back to create some separation, looking over his opponent. Katakuri had returned to settle the score, with Monet. Hey sugar, how are things with Red Leg? Monet had been speaking to a mirror at their daily scheduled time to meet up. Monet had been in contact with her sister just to check up on her and see how she was doing. It's awesome, but I really miss you. Anyway, today Sanji actually cooked me a nice meal. That was nice of him. But the head chef is kicking our butts in training. I miss you too, baby girl. Well, do as you are told. I imagine you living there is better for you to keep you away from danger, she relayed to her sister. Yeah, right, we've always been in the center of danger. Why start worrying about that now, sis? She had a good point, but Monet did not want to take the risk any further. She wanted the best for her sister, and her safety was her top priority. Look, sugar, we have a good thing with the Straw Hats. It has only been months since we've joined them, but they are treating us better than Luffy ever did. With him we are safe. As long as you are safe, then I'm good with anything. Plus you are a child. So live like a child along with baby 5 and this Sanji fellow you keep telling me about. Okay sis, I understand. Well, I have to go now. Head chef is very strict about training time. Bye, I love you. I love you too, she responded with a smile before putting away the mirror. Presently, Monet was in a room, occupied by a frozen dice and Tanaka. She had brought the two of them over to her room and immediately sent out a wave of powdered snow, enough so that they were immediately frozen in place. A knock on the front door was surprising, but she cautiously made her way to the door. She peeked through the eye hole and found Gladius on the other side. She opened the door and looked at the explosion user with confusion. Hey, sorry to barge in like this, but I have someone I need you to meet. Gladius looked around, not finding the blue-haired woman that accompanied him. Interesting how quickly you disposed of them. You must be one of the top-tier commanders within the Straw Hats, said blue-haired bombshell was already inside the room, admiring Monet's work on Dice and Tonka. Our only problem now is Baccarat and Guild. Excuse me, who the hell are you? Monet was very confused and Gladius was not helping in terms of explaining. Oh, I'm sorry, I was actually invited by your friend. Karina pointed at Gladius. Forced is the correct word, really, he said with a slight smile, to which Karina chuckled. Anyway, since he obviously didn't tell you anything, I have come to request your assistance in shutting down this joint. But I'm going to be straight with you. I really just want the wealth buried within Guild's vault. Okay, how do we know we can believe what you are saying? Asked Monet. Because I could have set off the alarm right when your friends entered the back office staff, but I didn't. She pulled out a small red button that is apparently used to set off a ship-wide alarm to notify the staff of an intruder. Karina took a seat beside the frozen dice and Tanaka and invited the duo to take the chair in front of her. I'm listening. Monet did take a seat while Gladius continued to stand. Your friends are engaged in a battle with Guild at this moment. Crocodile is solid gold right now while Dogtooth is still active, that's all I know on that end. Meanwhile, your buddy on the casino floor is carefully being watched by Baccarat. What is going to happen now is we will go through the back office through my knowledge of multiple passageways and shut down the power grid. It is then you can go do whatever while I claim the treasure. Any questions? Both members of the Straw Hat shake their heads. Okay, let's. Though Karina never went to shoot off her mouth any further as she too was turned into a human popsicle. Monet had her arms extended and shot out snow at a rate so quick it turned Karina into icicle. All we needed to know is that Katakuri is dealing with Gills into place. That is true, so what do we do now? Gladius admired the frozen forms of the three people before him. I have to maintain their frozen state, so I need you to get Macvis and lure Baccarat in here. We'll hold her too. Several minutes later, three people looked at the frozen form of the Fore's members of the Grand Tessero. Good job, Macvis said. Yeah, you did well, Gladius commented. All's in a day's work. Monet continued to supply the four frozen figures with a stream of cool snow. This way, they will maintain their cryo-freeze state. Suddenly, heavy banging was against their hotel room door. A loud voice booming demanding for the door to open. Monet looked at Macvis and Gladius to understand her non-verbal order. Macvis slammed his hands against his palm and Gladius cracked his neck. The two 6th Division members made their way outside where they were met with a sea of soldiers along the hallway. And they immediately went to work. Loaded 1-ton punches were sending bodies through walls, exploding bullets were blowing in people's faces. 100, 200, didn't matter, Macvis and Gladius were handling them easily. Straw Hat Grand Armada First Commander, Dogtooth, Katakuri vs Grand Tessero Owner, Gold Emperor, Guild Tessero. Katakuri had returned from his embarrassing descent to the bottom floor. On one arm he held the golden statue of crocodile, and on another his hands were extended to create the mochi wall. "You made a mockery of me, Guild. I shall repay you 1,000-fold," Katakuri declared. He then jumped back and placed Crocodile's golden statue along the outside of the golden room, where Guild won't have an opportunity to mess with it. Just to make sure, Katakuri encased the statue in a mochi cocoon. "Fine then, have it your way, Dogtooth." Guild ascended from the ground, lifting himself up in a wave of gold. He was atop his tower of gold, and yet, Katakuri stared at him defyingly. In an instant, the match was underway. Katakuri had amassed 4 donuts that floated around him, each one having the capability of unleashing his hardened mochi-shaped fist. Combine this with coordination of his own limbs and he had punches being sent out in multiple directions of the gold user. Guild manifested his own wave of golden fist, though his gold was slower at manifesting than Katakuri's mochi. A flurry of punches were sent out by Katakuri, harnessing his captain's signature gum gatling. Guild tried to match him with his own series of punches, but his gold was not quick enough, disintegrating quickly by the rapid rate of which Katakuri was going. "Gah!" Guild exclaimed, pushing himself. No longer did he have the advantage of surprise. Katakuri's eyes had a bright red gleam about them. He was reading his every move. But how? He got the job on him earlier, how is Dogtooth reading him now? Though the secret was, Katakuri was pissed off to the point that he did not allow himself to make the same mistake twice. He was 1st Division Commander of the Straw Hat Grand Armada. No way should he be made a mockery of by fucking Guild Tessero. The wave of his hardened mochi kept coming at the Gold Emperor. Before even landing on the floor, Katakuri already manifested a mochi hammer to knock him up once more. Guild attempted to gather his gold from all over the room with no luck as Katakuri was too fast. He was finally allowed to fall on the ground and he bounced to his feet, though he could fall any minute. He saw it all, an incoming golden whirlpool under him, jumped out of the way. A golden spike headed on the back of his head, easily averted by a mochi ball to cap the spike. It comically bounced off the back of his head as the mochi ball absorbed most of the impact. Guild was getting desperate now. Earlier his calm composure was due to his cockiness and belief that there was no person that could touch him. Marines have tried and ultimately left him alone. Don Quixote tried to murder him for stealing the Goru Goru no Mi and ultimately decided to partner with him. He monopolized the market by amassing 10% of the world's wealth. His influence could rival that of a world noble, and yet here he was on the end of his wits at the hands of Dogtooth. Guild saw his empire fall before his eyes as a mochi spike headed towards his face. Years of hard work, manipulating the rich people of the world to give him their money. Earning the title of the Gold Emperor, there it was coming his way, a mochi spike. He dropped on both knees accepting his fate. No way was he beating an enraged Dogtooth. Memories of his past circled his thought as the end came near. "Hey Stella, I know I haven't been a good person, but I hope you give me a chance once more. I'll meet you soon." And yet as his eyes closed, there was no pain, no feeling. He slowly opened his eyes as only his green shades fell from the crest of his nose. The mochi spike stopped directly in front of his forehead. Katakuri standing before him, stopping the spike from reaching between his eyes. What? He should be dead, he already accepted his fate. "Captain is really interested in your service. We need ships and you seem to be the best man to fund our expenses. So once more I offer, join the Straw Hat Grand Armada, serve under Captain Mugiwara, the future king of pirates." He looked at the palm of his hands, the spike no longer threatening to pierce him. He contemplated his life, his purpose. He survived almost being nearly made a slave, watched the love of his life die, soukbed to his demon which happened to be gambling, and yet he was never satisfied. Would this be the answer, Stella? Send me a sign. Then as if an angel hand wrote a message from his dearly beloved Stella, a piece of golden coin fell in front of him, dropping from the balcony which had been destroyed due to their battles. A coin which happened to be an honest gold which he obtained in effort to free his Stella. Tears streamed his eyes at the sign. She wanted him to try and be honest once more, therefore, An hour later. It took some time for the staff to be cleared. Guild had arranged his group and the Straw Hats to meet in the lobby. There a poker table was used to be the table for their meeting. Crocodile still looked pissed for being turned into a golden mochi cocoon thing. Monet sat while Katakuri, Gladius and Macvis remained standing. Across from them were Guild, who had both hands under his chin. Dice, Tanaka, and Bakura stood by him while Karina hung to the side as Guild was made aware of her attempted coup. "I have decided to join the Straw Hat Grand Armada." Guild broke the silence and announced his decision. His group were surprised by his decision, as he was never one to give off the vibe of servitude. "You are all free to choose what you will do now." He then got up and took his chair to be placed on the side of the Straw Hats. The former staff of the Grand Tessero looked at one another, with Dice stepping forward. "If you are joining them, then I will on one condition. Someone will need to beat me in arm wrestling," said the muscle man flexing his massive biceps. He was still angry for being frozen solid for a long period of time. This was his way of venting out his anger. "I'll take you in." Macvis stepped up though Crocodile held him back with his golden hook. He didn't say anything as he stepped forward, meeting the right arm of Dice with his own. The two then stared at one another before Dice exerted all his strength in pushing down Crocodile's arms. Though he would not budge. Just like a switch, Crocodile slammed Dice right through the table, smashing it into pieces, claiming victory. He then walked back to his spot and continued to smoke his cigar. Dice trembled as he was finally able to get back up on his feet. "I'm in." He gave a weak thumbs up before falling flat on his face. "You good?" Katakuri commented to Crocodile, who nodded his head. He was good now. "Ahem. If Dice is going then I'm in." Despite Tanaka's small stature, he was able to drag Dice into the side of the Straw Hats. This left Bakura and Karina. "But I'm good. I like to work for myself." Karina winked, grabbed a sack of treasure and left the meeting. Guild didn't even bother stopping her. The treasure she ran away with was measly 0.00001% of his entire fortune. Everyone turned their attention to Bakura, who was the last person to make her decision. "I'll join in spite of myself. I feel an overwhelming luck with your group." Which then brought her forward, crossing the invisible line that separated the Grand Tessero crew with the Straw Hats. "Set course to Water 7. Our captain is waiting." Katakuri stated simply, to which Tessero complied. All aboard to Water 7. Water 7. A month had passed of the Grand Tessero hauling its massive structure all the way to Water 7. In the time that they spent together, the Straw Hats and the Grand Tessero crew bonded exponentially. Crocodile had settled his grudge with Guild by sparring with him and beating the living shit out of him. And no, Guild was not holding back. Monet and Bakura shared tales of their life having a difficult upbringing. Turns out they both had to use their body as a means to feed themselves. Bakura took interest in Sugar as she joined Monet in their daily calls with one another. Sugar immediately took a liking of her and wants to meet her in the future. Macvis and Dice have become workout buddies, with Tanaka becoming their personal trainer. His duties were to research their workout and to push them to their limits. Dice has improved so much that he could slightly push Macvis in his one-ton state. Katakuri and Guild spent their time in the ship's control center, where they exchanged stories of their life and journey. Guild took real interest in this Mugiwara fellow. He respected Katakuri for what he could do. He was Dogtooth, former commander of Yonko Big Mom. How come he was riding with this Mugiwara guy? How influential was this guy? Though through their conversation, Katakuri had come to a conclusion that the Grand Tessero was not a ship they could bring on their journey. It was too bulky. So Katakuri suggested a smaller, more practical ship for Guild while they broke down the Grand Tessero for parts. Guild reluctantly agreed as this was his ship, but it was time to move forward. Their arrival in Water 7 was lively, as a group of thousands of shipwrights began to dissect the Grand Tessero as soon as it docked. Guild could only watch as the memory of his syndicate life was literally being ripped apart. This was for the better. He grabbed the golden coin which had swayed him to turn over a new leaf and began to flip it in the air. Stella would want him to be a better man. So this was his final gift to her, a better person. The crew made their way through Water 7 as many busy shipwrights were running around. They were busy with work. Captain must have got them all working. Katakuri commented as the group continued to make their way to the center of the island. Walking through the streets, the massive office building stood out. It was big enough to house a party for hundreds of people per floor. Once they arrived, they accessed an elevator to the top floor of the main office building. Before reaching the top floor, the rest of the party were told they had to be left at the lobby, with only Katakuri, Crocodile, Monet and Guild allowed to go through to the top floor. Before going to the top floor, Crocodile dismissed his agents, while Guild had his people go with them. Tanaka, Dice, Macvis, Gladius, and Bakura made their way back down, to explore this new world. Each was given a Den Den Mushi for communication. They made their way up, and as the elevator door opened, it revealed a large yellow fish man sitting behind a massive wooden desk. In front of him was a man wearing a straw hat, chewing on a toothpick as he slouched back. "Captain," called Katakuri, to which Luffy responded by jumping up and greeting the group with a smile. Guild observed the exchange, where Crocodile nodded, acknowledging the Straw Hat Man. Monet looked a little flustered while Katakuri remained poised. "Ah, see Tom, I told you I'll get Guild to join me," Luffy exclaimed as he looked at the man behind the wooden desk, who continued to look through mountains of paperwork. "Sir Mugiwara, I have told you, after what you've done for us, I don't need any of your berry. I'm happy to make your ships for free," stated Tom as he continued to work on the paperwork. A young man stood by Tom who handed him the correct paperwork to look at. This young man was Iceberg, one of Tom's apprentice. "Nonsense, your employees will not work for free, not on my watch." "Fine, and also thanks for the parts from the massive casino ship. That will go a long way of speeding up the process of making your ships. I want 8 ships by the end of the month. If you need it, my men can help," Luffy offered. No, Sir Mugiwara, your commanders should sit back and continue to give input on what they want for their ship. Just let out people take care of you. We are not known as a shipwright district for nothing. Alright then, call me if you need me." Luffy began to walk back, looking directly at the Guild. His gaze was careful, studying his very being. To Guild felt like soup being to the pressure. Luffy instead extended his hands. "Pleasure to finally meet you, Guild. Glad you could join us." "Glad to be here." Luffy gave Guild a smile before speaking with Crocodile and Katakuri. Guild following them. They got on the elevator and it began to descend. "You guys are the last to arrive," Luffy said. "Guild is a stubborn guy," Crocodile said with a smirk, egging on the gold user. "That's exactly why we need him. Sorry about your ship." "It's okay," responded Guild. "So who's here?" asked Katakuri. The elevator finally reached the bottom floor, the sun covering their gaze from what's in store. See for yourselves. Outside the main building, many familiar faces were in the proximity, though some others who were infamous due to their notoriety and their wanted poster. Guild looked around at the assortment of personnel that were all under Mugiwara. "Holy shit," was all Crocodile could say. Meanwhile Katakuri had a smirk on his face, more new blood to push to the limit. A restructuring of the divisions was in order. About damn time. Arlong was the first to greet the group. He was visibly more muscular and he now sported a golden trident on his back. "You guys are so slow. You had 1 job and I had 8. Lucci now sported a white suit from head to toe. His top hat was now a white color and he now had a bird on his shoulder. "Oh, this is Hattori. He's gonna be joining me from here on out." "Ah friends, it has been some time." Brook greeted the group. Nothing was different about him, though his confidence was oozing. "Monet, your sister is well with Red Leg." The hawk was the last to greet them, to which Monet embraced him. "I know, thank you," Monet said before breaking the embrace. "Alright, now that everyone is here. Check out your ships," exclaimed Luffy with a massive grin on his face. "Though not even being cocky, but my ship is better than all of yours." Thus the Straw Hat Grand Armada has reunited in Water 7. But there was an impending question. How did Brook handle Little Garden? Who was in Lucci's list? Where did Arlong get his sweet golden trident? What did Luffy do for Tom that made him so indebted to our Straw Hat protagonist? Coming soon. Readers, can anyone answer any of the questions? If you get any correct, I will PM you with a cookie. I won't say which one you had right though. How this will work I will cover each members through a chapter or so and reveal some information at the end of the arc where they are in Water 7 Fishman Island. On the first week of his division's journey, Arlong received a call from Captain, one of which was of grim nature. "Arlong," Luffy said, his tone was that of someone who lost something. Yes, Captain. Everything okay? Arlong was immediately worried. He could see the hurt in his captain's eyes. Mirror calls were the best communication device ever. In Ryugu Kingdom, Queen Otahime just gave me a call not too long ago. This happened a week before we arrived in Dressrosa. Prince Fukaboshi was murdered in cold blood by a member of Neptune's army. Hody Jones. He was banished from Fishman Island. Prince Fukaboshi was never someone I got along with, but I respected the hell out of him. There was a long pause with Luffy letting Arlong digest the news. Arlong remembered the time that the prince would travel from the comfort of his palace in order to visit the different districts of Ryugu Kingdom. He made sure to wear a disguise in order to not be treated any different than the normal citizen. He would always help where he can, be it an older person needing help carrying their items for sale, or a young orphan child wanting someone to play catch with them. He was just there for his people, without the people knowing it was him. Though he never liked him when he intruded with Sun Pirate's business. He respected him. As several minutes passed, Luffy finally spoke up. His group of radicals were arrested. They are all being held for trial. I'll take care of it, Captain. Good. With that, Arlong exited his room, where Brûlé and Gem were talking amongst themselves in the main deck. Everything okay? Brûlé noticed the grim expression within his lover's face. Our destination has become a little more personal. 2 weeks total was the time it took for Arlong to transverse the distance from Dressrosa to Fishman Island. More specifically, Ryugu Kingdom. The mood around the palace was very grim. When Arlong and company arrived, everyone tried to be strong, but they were obviously hurt. It took some time to arrive at King Neptune's throne room, where the king was visibly depressed, his wife by his side, both of which were trying their best to comfort each other. It had been weeks since the death of the prince, and yet, grief does not go away in less than a month. Arlong stepped forward, gathering the attention of the royal couple. Brûlé and Gem were each wearing a bubble over their head so that they could breathe underwater. King Neptune, Queen Otahime, I will take care of it. What do you mean by this, Arlong? King Neptune wiped a tear that fell from his eyes. He was visibly weak and is currently not fit to rule. I will take care of the radicals within Hody's group. I will perform the trial in your family's honor so that you may both rest. The people will understand why I am doing this. They love and respect Captain Mugiwara. We must show unity, Arlong. We have to be there. Queen Otahime replied, though her voice was weak. Not a day has gone by without the event that transpired on the assassination day. The blood of her own flowing in her hands, his life escaping from his eyes. It was stuff of nightmares, not something any mother should go through. I insist, please rest your royalty. Arlong was firm in his statement, whereas in normal circumstances, this would be viewed as insulting. Not today. Arlong. Thank you. To this the royal couple retreated to their room, in order to rest. Arlong swiftly turned to walk out of the throne room, his company joining him. Outside of the palace were some of the members of the Sun Pirates, immediately coming as soon as they learned Arlong had returned. Hello, stranger. Unfortunate times to reunite. The first to greet him was Hatchin, the six-limbed octopus fishman gave Arlong a firm embrace, to which the saw shark fishman returned. The next to greet him was Karubi, then Chu. Finally there was Jinbei, Aladdin, and Fisher Tiger. The royal family has retreated to rest for the day. A tear escaped his eye, which he quickly wiped away. I was tasked with sentencing the guilty accomplices. So please summon them immediately to the arena. Nobody questioned Arlong, as before joining the Straw Hats, he was a respectable fishman, although more of an extreme human hater. Chu and Hatchin ran to the holding cell, where they gathered the members of the failed coup to bring to the arena. There were maybe 50 of them, all of which agreed with Hody's ideology and attempted to help him assassinate the queen. If it were up to them, there would be no union with the humans and fishman population. So the group of radicals were quick to join Hody's extreme views. Arlong took his saw sword, walking slowly to the middle of the arena and opening his arms. Brûlé and Gem sat at the viewing area, where they were joined by the rest of the Sun Pirates. Brûlé was trembling in her feet as she knew what Arlong was going to do. If you want to stop the fishman population from moving to the surface, fucking do it then. Kill me, and if you do, with the Sun Pirates as witness, Fishman Island will never join the surface world. His anger was seething. He looked around to the 50 radicals who looked around at each other. none of which moved. "Funny tough guy, you have a weapon, we don't," exclaimed a cookie-cutter shark fish man, one of Hodee's inner circle members, Daruma. Arlong threw his sword towards Jinbei, who caught it with ease. He then raised his fist looking around once more. "This is not good. I can feel it." Zio, another member of Hodee's inner circle, commented. He was a Wabagong shark and tall and thin in nature. "Fuck it, I don't give a fuck if it's true, we're gonna beat the shit out of him. Go, attack men." Dosum, a large hammerhead fishman, was the second in command when Hodee was not available. He rallied all members of the prisoner to attack. They were fighting for their ideology and their freedom. Nothing makes a man stronger than that. Arlong took the first wave with ease. He caught one man with a front face kick, then he twisted his ankles to deliver a roundhouse kick to 3 others. He landed on both feet when Ikaro's Much met him, delivering a series of punches with his many limbs. Instead of stooping to the flurry of strikes, Arlong provided him with a swift chop to the throat, temporarily blocking the airway for Ikaro's Much. The multi-limbed man stumbled backwards, giving way to another series of 10 fishman who were easily disposed of by Arlong. Daruma attempted to strike from underground, but Arlong stopped his forehead before even leaving the ground. The stomp caused cracks on the ground. "Komian, you want to kill people for wanting unity, huh?" Arlong let his anger out on the radicals. Another 5 were tossed through the arena wall. Hyuzu attempted to trap Arlong by grabbing him with his legs, but Arlong pulled forward, tossing the fishman overhead and slamming him to the ground. In a matter of 15 minutes, the remaining members who could still fight were Dosum, Zio, and Ikaro's Much. Each were looking at each other as if to tell the other to go first. "Fucking hell, there are 3 of us and 1 of him. Go Zio," exclaimed Dosum. "You go, he just disposed of our entire fighting force. This guy is not fucking around. I never wanted any of this," responded Zio, though this pissed of Dosum, who pulled out a shank from his back pocket. A quarrel he had been sharpening for the past 3 weeks. Instead of using it for Arlong, he instead attempted to stab Zio. "You coward!" Though his quarrel shank never reached Zio as Arlong knocked him out on time. This left Zio and Ikaro's Much, both of which fell on both knees. We never liked those guys, we just had nowhere to go," exclaimed Ikaro's Much. He grew up with the bunch in the poor fishman district, but really, he never agreed with their viewpoint. He just sort of went with it in fear of becoming an outcast. "Yeah, please don't hurt us," followed Zio. "We'll prove ourselves, swear," exclaimed Ikaro's Much. Arlong looked at them, reading them, but instead of falling into his anger, he let it guide them, but they weren't the one to blame, it was Hodee. Something was strange, time seemed to have slowed. Their eyes widened, surprised at something from behind him. What the hell was it? Ikaro's Much ran forward, with Zio following after. So they weren't done after all, they were just feigning defeat, but he didn't drop his guard. Kicked Ikaro's Much in the face and grabbed Zio by the throat. "No, behind you," exclaimed Zio as he choked in the grip of Arlong. The first thing he saw was the balcony where the Sun Pirates, Brûlé, and Gem were supposed to be. But the Sun Pirates were gone, zooming past him. Something was happening behind him. His body finally forced itself to look. A massive kraken descended from the sky, causing massive destruction in the nearby proximity. Lucky Laboon was nearby, as the massive whale headbutted the kraken. Though it wasn't enough, as it took the entire effort of the Sun Pirates to subdue the kraken. Jahahaha. The laughter was so sinister it made Arlong whip his head around. His hands immediately dropped Zio, who gasped for air. In the area where Gem and Brûlé were, a sinister fishman emerged from behind them. Arlong deduced that he probably used the kraken as a distraction. Arlong the fucking saw, human-loving bitch. The man behind Brûlé and Gem was Hodee. His hands were now replaced by blades. "Will you make it in time to save your precious humans?" Hodee stabbed both Gem and Brûlé through their abdomen, and immediately pulled it out, blood spewing from the fresh wound. Hodee then took his blade and popped the bubble that helped the humans breathe underwater. His brain was in overdrive, as he could not even utter a word. Hodee immediately left the proximity to keep Arlong distracted. The Sun Pirates were with the Kraken, Arlong had to deal with his people, and the royal family were alone, ready to be killed by Hodee. Arlong swam as fast as he could, grabbing both Brûlé and Gem and shooting upward. He did not think, he just acted. And the only way he could help them breathe was to go up. Fishman Island was 10,000 meters underwater. It would take him 6 minutes to get them to the surface at his maximum speed. It would take him 1/3 of the time if he only had to carry one person. No, he wasn't going to choose, because the choice was obvious. But would he really kill his own to save another? Suddenly, two figures were zooming by his side. It was Zio and Ikaro's Munch. "Arlong, let us take care of your humans. We know where they can receive air," exclaimed Zio. "There is an air pocket that we know, about 60 seconds from here. You must save the royal family," added Ikaro's Munch. "How can I trust you?" exclaimed Arlong, continuing to pull his crew upward. "I can't say, but you're gonna have to," Zio replied, grabbing Gem. Ikaro's Munch did the same for Brûlé, where Arlong hesitated in giving her to an enemy. "She's going to die if you don't let go." Finally he did, trusting two enemies to save his crew. Tears flowed from his eyes at the thought of their death, but alas, he had to act quickly, switching his direction straight down to Ryugu Palace. Hody crashed through the front door of the palace, making quick work of the palace guards. He trained all these weaklings, he knew the in and out of the palace. He swam his way through the palace, immediately falling in front of the royal resting place. "Jahaha! King Neptune, Queen Otahime. I have come to finish what I started." Hody then barged through the door, revealing Queen Otahime behind her husband. Neptune grasping his trident tightly. "Death is in your window, human lovers." Though Hody never got a chance to enter the royal palace, as a fist went right through his chest. It was instantaneous, as Hody fell on the marble tiles, his blood flowing through the floor. The man who killed Hody was none other than Arlong, who got there one time. But he had no time to hang out, as Brûlé and Gem were with the enemy. "Babe! Babe!" A weak voice called on his mirror communication device. It was Brûlé, and her voice was very weak. "We're okay. They saved us." Ikaro's Munch was holding them up, with their head above the air pocket. "Sorry boss, I was so useless underwater," said Gem, who was breathing hard to catch his breath. They still had an open wound that continued to let out blood. Zio returned with a healing herb found only at the midstream underwater. He then proceeded to patch the wound of Brûlé and Gem. "You freaking fruit users. You scared me to death." Tears streamed from the eyes of Arlong the Saw, as he could relax slightly. He collapsed on the ground and cherished the voice of his people. "Thank you. You both, I owe you." "Just pardon and allow us to join you," exclaimed Ikaro's Munch. "Yeah, I agree," Zio commented as he continued to address the wound of both injured people. "Arlong, I will send an escort to the midstream air pocket. I will also make sure that they both receive new bubbles so they can join us," King Neptune said as he went to order one of the surviving palace guards. No moment was missing for the time it took Arlong to kill Hody to the time that the Sun Pirates subdued the Kraken in the same amount of time, and all was finally well. Everyone hailed him as the hero as he walked to the hospital ward, where Brûlé and Gem were resting from their wounds. Arlong dropped by Gem to check up on him. He was doing well, so he went to Brûlé after. "Hey babe," Arlong said as she lay in bed. Her wounds were addressed and she was now in recovery. "Hi you. Did you get it out of your system now?" asked Brûlé. She let him do what he wanted, but he lost sight of who he was in the moment of anger. "Sorry, I should have been more rational. And now I put you at risk, especially knowing that you can't breathe underwater. I should have been more careful." Well, what was going on? It seemed very personal. Yeah, it was. Prince Fukaboshi was a pinnacle of the community. He is the reason many of the district's children have grown up to become successful. Hody just. He reminded me of myself. I could have been like that if Captain never found me. "Remember this, babe, I was with Mama for a long time, and she did things. Horrible things to people, nations, just to satiate her hunger. And we just let it happen because she is our mother." She grabbed his face and caressed it. "Now is what matters, and what we do with the opportunity that Captain has given us. So you are not Hody, you will never be Hody, got it?" "Yes ma'am." Arlong responded with a smile. "But there is one thing we need to discuss." Yes, she knew what this was. "With today's event, I think it would be best to move you and Gem to a different division. I went over it with Lucci and he said he'll take you. Your infiltration abilities are great for his division." Then I talked to Brook, who will take Gem, as his division will be able to use an explosion expert. Me and Captain have discussed my specialization and its deep sea exploration. And after today I can't put you at risk. I can't. Babe. Stop explaining, I understand. I don't like it, but I understand. Now get out of here, there are people that want to meet with you. Thank you for understanding. Arlong planted a long kiss on her lips before exiting, giving her a smile before leaving. As Arlong was long gone, Brûlé couldn't help but break into tears, for no longer will she join in on his adventure. Yet she knew that they will be as strong as ever, for true love is not defined by distance. Never. Arlong was brought to the grand hall within the palace. It was there he found the entire force of the Sun Pirates, the royal family, and the two saviors of his people. "Ah, glad of you to join," called King Neptune. He was guided to a seat right next to Fisher Tiger, which he gladly took. The hall was massive, and yet the Sun Pirates were large in numbers, and therefore some elected to stand. "Alright, now that everyone is here, I have an important announcement." Fisher Tiger began. He was getting older, and it was a matter of time before he did what he was going to do. Death of Prince Fukaboshi, the head of Neptune's army, is currently vacant. We Sun Pirates have a duty for our nation, as we only became pirates to protect our country. Whitebeard was the man to claim our land for protection first, but his influence has grown noticeably weaker in a matter of a year. Why that is, nobody knows. So what I am going to do is officially disband the Sun Pirates. As I will now become head of command of Neptunes, are all free to choose where you go. We are joining the Neptune army as well. The pirate life was fun, but it's time to protect our nation. This was from one of the older fishman, and a chorus of agreement came from the majority of the now former Sun Pirates. This shocked Arlong, although no one seemed to be surprised. Is this not surprising? Arlong, with the Sun Pirates disbanded, we are seeking employment for a crew. Jinbei grabbed him by the shoulder. Then a realization hit Arlong. They disbanded so that Whitebeard can't start a war, because if he learned that the Sun Pirates continued to operate under the Straw Hats, then a war would surely ensue. Got any openings? Aladdin asked. They planned this so well. Arlong looked around to many members of the Sun Pirates. Some were older, some were frail, and yet they bleed pirate life. Though Arlong knew that Fishman Island would need some of that toughness. "Yeah, Arlong, come on, help us out," Hatchin said with a happy smile. Karubi nodded and Chu gave a thumbs up. Then Ikaros, Much and Zio stepped forward. "Our adventures can't end here, so if you will, we can join you as well." Arlong was overwhelmed, to say the least. But to put icing on top with everything that happened, King Neptune swam to him. "Arlong, you have done this country proud." He then removed a trident that clinged on his back. "This is my son's golden trident." He then proceeded to hand it to Arlong. "You deserve to wield it, Arlong, the Saw of the Straw Hats." And he took the golden trident, feeling a hidden power within it as soon as he touched it. Something for later. But for now he had to answer to the people's request. His whole purpose of going to Fishman Island was to gauge whether the Sun Pirates would join them, and now he succeeded without really asking. "All of you who wish to join, welcome to the Straw Hat Grand Armada 4th Division." To this the room cheered. In all his life, Arlong never thought he would be in this position, the pride of Fishman Island. How times have changed. He held his new golden trident with a massive smile on his face. Funny enough, the Kraken became close friends with Laboon, and the two massive creatures went out on their own adventures. Arlong decided to stay another 2 weeks in Ryugu Kingdom, in order to gauge everyone's skill level. Others who wanted to join were put to the trial. Even those who were formerly with Hody were given a chance. Brûlé and Gem were brought into the loop of what is happening, and ultimately was very happy for their former captain. They understood why they were transferred, as each division is having more and more of an identity. The citizens of Ryugu Kingdom insist on giving him things, but instead he told them to give it to the people. There are more who deserve it more than him. Thus this brings us to the end of exactly 1 month since Arlong has transversed the sea from Dressrosa to Fishman Island. He was noticeably buffer TK, the delight of Brûlé, as training with some of the most powerful fishman has pushed him to beyond his limits. Though now was time to go meet everyone in Water 7. Everyone ready? Arlong rode on the back of Laboon, where Jinbei was asked to ride the Kraken in a similar manner. The rest of the newly reformed 4th Division were on the ship provided by King Riku. Everyone cheered at his question, indicating that they were indeed ready. Let's go, and the 4th Division were on their way to meet their new commander, Straw Hat Luffy. I'm so happy that Arlong found his true love. Aladdin and Brûlé were having a conversation as they traveled. Me too. I hope my relationship turns out like you too. Oh yeah, who are you dating? Oh gosh. I met her at a random island. She was so amazing and beautiful. Oh my, spill it, demanded Brûlé, who was excited to hear who it was. We have been sending letters with each other. Oh here, just read this. Do you think it's too much? Aladdin handed her a letter he had been writing to his love interest. Brûlé read the letter with a massive smile on her face. Although, after the heading, her smile immediately turned to shock. You have been talking to Sister Praline, Water 7 present time. And here is our ship, the Great White. Arlong had brought Katakuri to look at his ship. His division arrived 2 weeks earlier than Katakuri's group, so they had plenty of time to settle down. As far as the Great White, the ship was massive, with a giant head of a shark for its headpiece. There was no sail as it took the form of an actual shark, complete with a tail and fins. Wow. Yeah, isn't it? Look when it's done. My entire division are all fishmen, and so I will be responsible for deep-sea excavation. My ship will also be able to go underwater. This is nice, Arlong. And as far as your division? Asked the first commander. I am captain, of course. Then I have Jinbei as my right hand, Aladdin as my left. Then different duties for Chu, Hachin, Ikaros Much, Kurobi, and Zio. Plus I have 2 titans in Kraken and Laboon. I'm not hearing where my sister is in all this. That's the thing, bro. She will move divisions and join the 3rd Division. Why is this? She almost died in Fishman Island and I can't bring her in that kind of danger. I told you to take care of her. This is me taking care of her. Then the two just stared at each other for some time. Fine. You are both grown to make your own decisions. Katakuri then began to walk away. I'll see you around. He was on his way to meet with Guild when he ran into Brook. Ah, Katakuri, it's been a while. How are you, Brook? I am well, though I hope they have enough wood for our new recruits. What do you mean? Then a massive shadow from a massive person was cast over them. Katakuri looked up and finally understood what Brook meant. Ah. Hey Brook, where do you want us to go again? Another set of new figures arrived. There were several of them and they looked like business. Ah, Captain wants to meet you guys. Here, let's go. Brook led the way. See you around, Katakuri. Yeah, Brook, see you around. Katakuri looked at them as they disappeared in the distance. Brook really did have an amazing adventure. Then several minutes passed before Lucci found him. Oh, Katakuri, can't talk right now, I got to head to a meeting. Lucci began to sprint but was stopped by Katakuri's voice. Hey Lucci. Katakuri called. Once he got his attention, he said, I heard of the transfer. Take care of my sister. Of course I will. Lucci said with a thumbs up. She'll help set the new recruits straight. How many new recruits? Somewhere in Water 7. Alright, take care Sugar, love you always. Monet had just completed her call with Sugar when Baccarat found her. She changed her attire into a cute yellow sundress, one of which flew gracefully with the air. Baccarat still wore her tight red dress, one where her lovely figure was tightly hugged in all the right areas. Hey there. She was trying her hardest to get acclimated, but it was there were a lot of people. Oh hi Baccarat. Monet gave her a hug. In the month they spent traveling to Water 7, the two have gotten close. She ducked down as a worker was passing by with a massive wood over his shoulder. A lot I know. Monet chuckled as she helped Baccarat up. I thought that Guild was untouchable, but your fighting force is so massive that there's no way your captain is not yet an emperor. Our captain, Baccarat. And no, he is not. At least not that I know of. His biggest move was Dressrosa. The Marine will definitely not like the defeat of another one of their warlords. I understand her. Yeah, former, I'm with the Straw Hats now. She then had a bright idea. Oh, I have an idea. You should meet Captain. That way we can get you assigned to a division. He did say he would be in one of the suites around the Central Plaza. You'll really like him. Wait, I thought I was staying with Guild in his new division? Well, everyone has a group they belong to. Captain is really good at placing people in the correct division. Well, the commanders are also great at selecting their people. But I want you to meet Captain, so let's go. Baccarat took note of how giddy she was, though she did not press the issue. The two beautiful ladies walked animatedly to where they knew the captain was. They entered the building and found the captain's quarter. "Your name please?" "BZZZ. There was a robotic receptionist in the front desk." "Monet." "Ah yes, Sir Mugiwara added you to his list. Room 4377 BZZZZ." The iron gate behind the receptionist opened, letting them through. Little Garden. Brooks's adventure was one of simple nature. Travel to Little Garden. Attempt to recruit two living legends named Draghi and Bragi. And travel to Water 7. Though he did not take into account that there were going to be other people on the island. Well, not people, more so beings. The first thing him and Bentham noticed were the other ship, anchored several miles away from them. The ship flew a pirate flag that he could not make out. Regardless, Brooke and Bentham pressed on. For such massive giants, they were really hard to find. "Director, movement around us." Bentham noticed the rustling of leaves all around them, maybe 3 locations. "I've noticed." Brooke stood up immediately, drawing his blade. "Whoever you are, present yourself immediately for a lighter repercussion." More rustling of the leaves occurred, though nothing stepped out. Brooke looked at Bentham, who understood and got up immediately himself. "If you wish to engage, then we are happy to comply." Brooke began to walk towards the noise, but instead of finding people, he found a baby dinosaur, one bigger than himself. It had caught itself tangled in some vines. "Ah, little one, let me assist you." Brooke took his blade and swung it against the vines. "Go now, creature, rejoin your family." The creature gave him a happy coo before running back to its family. Impressive skeleton san. A creature emerged from the guise of darkness. A polar bear mink with stylish sunglasses greeted him. He had a cutlass on his back and he was a cool-looking dude. "Hands up, this doesn't need to get ugly." Bentham got behind the polar bear mink, with a knife on his throat. "You're right, it doesn't need to." Now another mink appeared beside Bentham, holding his hands in front of the blade which was held in the throat of the polar bear. This mink was a lion mink with thin, stylish shades, and he looked like he meant business. "Everyone relax, we don't need all of this hostility. Who are you and what are you doing in Little Garden?" This time it was a bigger, feline mink, spotted like a jaguar. He seemed to be their leader, and he too emitted a powerful presence about him. "We are members of the Straw Hat Pirates, and we are here to locate 2 warring giants." "And you are? What are you doing here?" Brooke returned the question. Answering their question should calm everyone's nerves. "First let's all drop our weapons." Brooke nodded his head in agreement and Bentham dropped his knife. He then jumped by his commander's side and warily looked at the new arrival. The group now moved closer, sitting across a hot fire while they warily looked at one another. "I am Pedro, and these are my companions, Zeppo and Pekins. The rest of our crew are in our ship. We are called the Nox Expedition Party. But unfortunately the world government has called us the Nox Pirates." Pedro scratched the back of his head at this. Zeppo was the polar bear mink while Pekins was a mighty lion mink. "Pleasure to meet you, I am Brooke, and this is Bentham. Say, what were you fellows going out to explore? Being an expedition party." Brooke put a pot on the heart of the fire, heating up some water for some drinks. Poneglyphs. Pedro and crew joined the camp of Brooke and they started discussing their adventures. "We had a lead for one here but it turned out to be empty. It is like that sometimes." "Why poneglyphs?" Brooke made tea for everyone and started distribution. "I heard that they were rare, but to actively seek them must be a heavy task." "Yeah, it is, and most of the time the leads we get are empty, like here in Little Garden. And well, I met a great man years ago, one of which inspired me to go on my own adventure. He told me about the true history of the world and I wanted knowledge. But the world government decided that our adventure is too dangerous, so we are now reluctantly the Nox Pirates." Funny how tea could influence one to tell their story. Though Brooke knew to be careful and he inspected every single one of the present members of the Nox Pirates. How so? He looked into their soul and they were all generally good people. Brooke was now at ease in the presence of the new arrivals, which made Bentham relax a little. I see. Well, there is something that I want to ask you all," Brooke stated, to which the group paid close attention. "Have you heard of a pirate named Mugiwara? By now his tale should reach all corners of the blues." "Ah yes, the ruthless pirate captain that has claimed nations such as Alabasta and Dressrosa into his fold. Very questionable man if you ask me. He also destroyed many buildings in Sabaody. But I did read an article by Big News Morgans, he is worth $1 billion berry. Although he was talking, he felt that Bentham was staring at him with some animosity. "Ah, is everything okay?" Pedro asked. "Captain Mugiwara is a great man. He made me into a better person. And so are my other friends," Bentham exclaimed, although Pedro raised his hands, realizing that he was in the presence of the members of Mugiwara's pirate crew. He mentally slapped himself as earlier Brook did say that he was a member of the Straw Hats. "All is well, the world is not fair to pirates. But regardless of your preconception of our captain, I wish to convince you to reconsider. Captain Mugiwara is the greatest man I have ever met. He amassed a grand armada under him, all of which follow him in admiration rather than fear. He has a way of inspiring even those with no motivation, especially pirates who have lost their way." He then looked directly into Pedro's eyes. Despite his hollow skeleton eyes, Pedro could feel his resolve. "Mark my word, Monkey D. Luffy will be the king of pirates." Pedro could tell that Brook was very passionate about his pirate captain. If this man was so great, he wanted to meet him. "Alright Brook, you've sold me. I wish to meet this man," Pedro said, then he looked at Zeppo and Peckham's. "I agree, I wish to meet this man." "So do I. Sure, but first we must locate 2 giants. We were sent on a mission to find them." "Oh, you mean Dory and Brogy?" Peckham's pointed at a far-off direction. "We met them yesterday with cool blocks, but they have been fighting for 90 years. If you want to meet them, we can bring you to them at sunrise." "That would be great, thank you." And with that the group set up camp and went to rest for the night. Brook kept awake. For being a skeleton, he did not need as much rest as a normal human would. He didn't need to rest his muscles or worry about anything but his skeleton. Just thinking about his anatomy made him feel weird. Maybe he'll get a good doctor to explain his phenomena. He heard murmuring outside his tent and he decided to eavesdrop. Brook closed his eyes and focused. His soul suddenly escaped from his body, floating in the air. He then glided to where the conversation was occurring and found Pedro and Peckham's talking to one another. "How do you know?" Peckham's was frustrated. That much was obvious. Brook floated a bit closer. What was it they were talking about? "Just trust me on this, Peckham's. This Mugiwara sounds like the real deal. We can continue our expedition under his protection. Then we'll really be pirates if we join them. We are already dubbed as pirates. We are going to eventually bounty over our heads. What more reason should you want from me?" "What about our people in Zo?" Peckham's asked, an excellent point. "Hey guys, you could both wake up an entire village with your yelling." Zeppo joined the group, yawning as he had just woken up. "Sorry Zeppo, just knock some sense into Pedro," Peckham's argued. "Yeah Pedro, I think it's the right call. Being under the umbrella of one as powerful as Mugiwara will help our mission in finding the poneglyphs, learning the true history." To Zeppo's words, Pedro beamed up and Peckham's looked dejected. "But Peckham's is also right. By agreeing to this life, we have to really become pirates. It is for the right reasons," Pedro argued, believing that Mugiwara is their way to gathering the poneglyphs. "I get it, I do. But how about our people? By joining them we Mugiwara. What if our people will need help? We won't just be able to leave and return to Zo." Brook had heard enough, returning into his body and swiftly rejoining the conversation that he was eavesdropping on. "You'll be able to go. In fact, more likely than not, Captain Mugiwara will back you up if trouble ever occurs in your land." They were astonished at his arrival. "How long have you been listening?" Peckham's did not feel his presence at all, which was a bit scary. "Long enough." Brook just really wanted to ease their worries, but now he was stuck. What else could he say to them? Pedro decided to speak up for his group, not wanting any trouble. "We'll meet him, but there's no guarantee. The rest of our mink party will return to our homeland to bolster our defenses, as joining the Straw Hats will of course provide us the tools we need for our search. Yes, and even better, one of our queens can decipher them, the poneglyphs that is. Read the lost history, impossible. All the scholars that could died from sickness in Ohara." To this the 3 minks were very interested. "You'll see." Sunrise finally arrived and it was time to meet the 2 giants. Peckham's led the way while Zeppo and Bentham discussed their life stories. Pedro and Brook talked about Gold D. Roger and how Brook remembered him as a rookie while he was still with the Rumbar Pirates. Though something interrupted their rather peaceful encounter. A loud eruption of the island's volcano covered the entire island, Once it blew, it was followed by an earthquake. Wait, no, it can't be an earthquake. This was more of footsteps as the group bounced at the rhythm of footsteps. Then, like a thundering boom in the air, two objects clashed in a loud clang and Brook immediately smiled. In panic, Zeppo noticed the smile on Brooks's face. What the hell are you happy about? We're about to die on this damned island. I have located them. Brook disappeared in a wake of cold air. He dashed through the large thick forest and as he cleared it, he found them. The two massive giants caused the commotion as they engaged in a heated battle. Brook observed, watching as the giants clashed in epic fashion. They seemed to be enjoying themselves, each strike matched by the last. But what were they fighting about? Brook rubbed his chin and continued to watch. After some time, he decided to look into the stem of their battle, without interrupting their fight. He sat on the ground, the group finally catching up to him. SHS, he's about to go into soul form. Bentham stated and everyone watched as Brook's soul escaped from his body. It then floated its way to the battling giants. What is going on right now? Peckham's and Zeppo were physically freaked out. Who wouldn't? A skeleton man just released green spirit from his body and it casually floated towards the giants. You've worked on your swing there, Dory. You've taken my advice in using your back foot for leverage, I see, Brogy. A thundering laugh ensued, causing the air to tremble violently. As the two giants engaged in battle, clashing sword to axe, Brook sneakily went through their body, phasing through their soul and locating the cause of their 90-year-old battle. Gabababa! The thundering laugh of Brogy the giant filled the air as he carried a massive seeking over his shoulder. He set it on the ground next to the massive bonfire. He sat across from his buddy and they laughed about their catch. Gegyagyagya. Dory also had a massive seeking and the two just laughed and chatted about their day. The sun was just setting as the two giants continued to drink to their successful day. Hey mister. A little girl happened to stumble into their camp and was now looking at the two massive sea kings. Yes, little girl? Dory looked down at the little girl, curious as to what she wanted. Which sea king is bigger? Asked the little girl, causing a 90-year dispute between the two giants. Whose sea king was bigger? Seriously? Brook was shot out of their soul and found himself floating around them. Dory noticed the specter in the air and thought it was a bat or something. So he swatted with his massive sword, although the blade only phased through Brook's soul form. Who are you, spirit? Commanded Brogy, who now looked in the general direction of Brook's soul form. At ease, my giant friends. Brook's real body did a peculiar thing as it floated toward his soul form. It then bonded with his soul and he was now within his skeletal body. He was in eye level with the two massive giants, his feet emitting cold air to keep him afloat. Bentham witnessed this and noted that this was a new power. The trio of minks watched in amazement as the fifth commander bravely stared into the face of two towering giants. I am merely here to deliver a proposal. Is that so? What is this proposal, skeleton man? Dory asked, his eyes narrowing in annoyance for Brook's interruption. I have come to propose a position within the crew of the future king of pirates. To this, the two giants looked at one another and burst out laughing. They did not stop for a good minute before looking back at the skeleton. Do tell what this pirate king is? The one man to rule them all? Dory ribbed Brogy. Is he the man who gathered all the treasure in the world? Added Brogy. I understand your concern. This was all new to me also not too long ago. I understand that you have been isolated on this island for 9 decades. But there was a pirate king, a man named Gold D. Roger, but he has since been executed for defying the world government. Now a new golden age of piracy was revolutionized from his death. And in this revolution, my captain, Monkey D. Luffy, will ascend to the title of Pirate King. This king of your will not ascend to the title, as this is not a possible feat even with your Gold D. Roger tales. Dory swung his massive blade at Brook. The giant was angry at such a ridiculous notion and did not want to hear anymore. He wanted to shut down the skeleton from speaking anymore. Though, to the shock of everyone but Bentham, Brook had withdrawn his blade, clashing with the giant's blade. He did not move an inch, still floating in the air, looking directly into the eyes of the giant who swung his blade. Trust me, my captain will be king. The force of the swing could level mountains, and yet Brook stopped it mid-air without even moving an inch. Skeleton, you are interesting. You have gotten my attention, but that still does not change the fact that per the rule of Elbaf, me and Brogy must battle till one of us best the other in combat. As disagreements in our homeland are settled in this manner. Then how about I settle your dispute once and for all? Brook stepped several steps back, seemingly walking on air. He then swung his blade through the air. A green spectral force shot out of his swing and went through the giants. Suddenly the projection of their soul escaped from their gigantic bodies. What is this? Brogy asked as he looked at a spectral image of himself. Your soul. Brook then let their soul speak to truly reveal their innermost feeling. I do not remember our dispute, and yet I had to battle as it is Elbaf's laws. I wish to return to the sea and return to an adventure with my best friend. Words from the soul of Dory which caused the real Brogy to look at Dory with tears in his eyes. What are we fighting about again? I can't really remember. Regardless, I wish this was over so we can travel around the world again. Oh well, the laws of Elbaf are absolute. I must fight my best friend. This time it was Brogy's projection that spoke. And to those words, the spectral soul form disappeared in thin air and both giants burst into tears, hugging each other in the manliest way possible. Brook descended next to the minx and bent them. The trio had a blank look on their face. Well done, director. Bentham complimented Brook while he twirled in delight. Then the giants finished their reunification and looked down at Brook and his party. The minx waving up at their giant friends. Alright, Skeleton Man, we'll meet this yours, but if the time comes that we do decide to join him, who will be the captain amongst us? Dory asked. It should be me. Brogy said jokingly, punching Dory in the forearm. The impact caused trees to rustle violently. Actually, Captain Luffy has already decided who will be heading your division. Oh, who might that be? Whoever it is, he must defeat me before I become subordinate to him. You'll know soon enough. Brook replied with a smile. Luckily they did not have to battle the giants, or it would have taken weeks before they could set out to Water 7. And to this, the end of the Little Garden saga is finally upon us. Well, not quite as how would the giants travel with the 5th Division. On the shore of Little Garden, a massive, giant ship housing one particular giant arrived, waving at the people on the shore. Dory and Brogy looked at each other and figured now who their supposed captain would be. That brat! They exclaimed at the same time. While this was occurring, Pedro took the time to advise the rest of the expedition party to return to Zou, inform them of their plan, and know that they will be okay. A laughing hyena mink took the lead of the minks aboard the Nox expedition party and set course back to Zou. Now it was truly the end of Little Garden Saga. Water 7 present time. Ah, Katakuri, it's been a while. How are you, Brook? I am well, though I hope they have enough wood for our new recruits. What do you mean? Then a massive shadow from a massive person was cast over them. Katakuri looked up and finally understood what Brook meant. Ah. Hey Brook, where do you want us to go again? Another set of new figures arrived. There were several of them and they looked like business. Ah, Captain wants to meet you guys. Here, let's go. Brook led the way. See you around, Katakuri. So how's interacting with the other Straw Hats so far? Brook joined the trio of minks who were getting acclimated to the people of the Grand Armada. They are amazing. Pedro commented, adjusting his hat to block the sunlight which glared over his eyes. Interesting bunch you got here, but when are we going to meet the one who reads poneglyphs? Was Zeppo's answer. They weren't there to mingle as they were not really sure if they really wanted to stay. Relax Zeppo, we have time. It's not like we can freely sail the seas anyway. Our pal Pedro just got a bounty of 382 million berries. Peckham's added while showing everyone his crisp new bounty. Impressive, my bounty is measly 33 million berry. Brook found the captain's tent and went in, leaving the trio for a moment. He then returned to deliver some bad news. Looks like he retired for the time being. We'll catch him at a different time. Brook knew where his captain went and did not press on. The captain needed to have some rest as well. It has been some time since our initial introduction. We really need to sit down with your captain. Pedro stated. When they arrived, they met him, impressed by his outstanding stature and aura. And ever since they haven't had a chance to talk with him. Though it is a bit chaotic right now, we understand. Thank Pedro. Well, do enjoy yourself. I'll keep in touch. Brook said with a smile before leaving the trio. Once he left them, he found another set of trio, the giants which were assisting in constructing their own ships. Dory and Brogy, who challenged for headship in the giant pirates. Haruden was twice the junior of the two former giant pirate captain, but he was definitely the most powerful of the bunch. Their dispute for leadership settled in the open sea, with Haruden coming out on top. Though they both lost to a younger giant, that is by giant standard, Haruden is the captain of the giant pirates. How did they find Haruden? Well, the captain easily swayed the roaming giant to join at the news of reforming the giant pirates. And he immediately set course and found them in Little Garden. Amazing what a letter can do. Regardless, Brook left the giant pirates of his own accord and went to the dock where his ship was situated, where he found Bentham, happily helping hammer some nails on their ship with his own fist. "Director, how goes it?" Bentham greeted Brook with a massive grin, striking one of his signature poses. "Well, Bentham, now how is our ship coming along?" Brook looked over the floor plan and found that it was as he would like it to be. "Our grandest show pirate ship is as you requested, Director, complete with a grand stage on the belly for entertaining the crew, preparation room, and of course, a massive inventory of hundreds of different instruments." "Excellent, excellent." Brook admired his grandest show pirate ship. It was really coming along as he wanted. Brook saw Mihawk sitting on a lawn chair, his eyes closed as he enjoyed the fresh air. He then said goodbye to Bentham for the meantime and joined Mihawk, sitting down on a lawn chair right next to him. "Brook," grated Mihawk. "Mihawk," responded Brook as he settled on his position. "How are the children?" "They are doing well." Then a brief pause. Mihawk knew what was coming. "You checked on the young swordsman, didn't you?" Brook was the one who saw a fresh wound across his left arm. The same young swordsman was the one to inflict it. This was all the way back in the East Blue. "I did." Mihawk once again paused. "His friend died, she took her own life. He's devastated, wanted to come with me but I told him not yet, he needs to be stronger." "Cold of you, isn't it? It's better this way. He swore the next time we meet, he will be able to get my respect." Mihawk then rubbed his temple. "He has it already, doesn't he?" "Yeah." And the duo enjoyed what's left of the sunlight, just sitting on the lawn chair and doing nothing. Marineford, "You have got to be shitting me." Sengoku, angrier than he's ever been, slammed a stack of bounty posters across his table. "You mean to tell me that Mugiwara gathered this massive force from right under our nose? I'm telling you, Fleet Admiral, we have to eliminate him." Sengoku was joined in his office by Admiral Akainu. "We have to cut off his legs, before he can truly run. What is going on with these damned pirates? First Big Mom trying to start a war, then damned super rookies emerging all over the place, and now Mugiwara making a case for Emperor of the Seas. I'll deal with it," Admiral Akainu offered. "I'll kill the brat. We can't move yet, not without the blessing of the Gorosei. And from what I hear, Red-Haired proposed some interesting information that directed their attention away from Mugiwara. Fuck the Gorosei, let me go and deal absolute justice. Z would agree with me if he wasn't on his mission." Akainu exclaimed, his body turning into part magma from his outburst. What information did Red-Haired provide that is bigger than this fucking super rookie? He provided valuable information that the Marines need to address with urgency, which in turn diverted our resources to these things. "Well, what is it?" asked Akainu. He gave the Gorosei information. "What is this about?" Admiral Kuzan entered the office. His attire was ripped into pieces. He had just returned from his climactic battle with Charlotte Linlin. "Admiral Kuzan, you've seen better days." Admiral Akainu addressed the ice user. Kizaru hung back outside as he was told to wait. He had to follow his superior's orders or he was going to be demoted again. "Half the unit you gave me is dead, but she left after the 7th day, got bored of toying with us," she said. "Fuck," the fleet admiral stated. "We can't make a move on Big Mom. Her influence is too vast and we would have to focus 60% of our resources to engage her in battle. This would open the door for the other emperors such as Whitebeard and Kaido to make a play for Raftel." "Finish what you were saying, Sengoku. What did he give the Gorosei?" Akainu demanded, not only at seeing Kuzan, but at Sengoku not finishing his statement. "He gave the Gorosei information on." Even Akainu and Kuzan could not believe what they were. Onigashima tears flowed freely through the eyes of a massive monster. Joker. A massive beast of a man sat drinking barrels of sake. He was mourning the loss of one of his business partners. Kaido, Big Mom attempted to enter Dressrosa in pursuit of Mugiwara, but the Marines stopped her. Kaido's commanding Calamity, King, was the one to report the information. Around Kaido were two other towering commanding figures, Queen and Jack. "Kaido, let me deal with them," Jack offered, to which Queen gave him a dropkick. "Shut up, you fucking idiot, you don't have what it takes," Queen said, to which King nodded in agreement. The two Calamities did not treat Jack well, not at all. "Fuck you both," Jack emitted haki, defying his two superiors. Although they were all brought to silence as they felt the Emperor's haki coming from Kaido. "All of you, shut the hell up, for tonight." Kaido brought up his drink, finishing it in a few gulps. "We mourn Joker." More tears escaped from him as he sounded like a wounded animal. Jack stared daggers into King and Queen, to which the duo returned with a cocky grin. But Kaido wasn't finished. "Tomorrow, send the Flying Six to kill one or two of Linlin's children. This will teach her to stay in her territory." To that the three Calamities can agree to the plan. A massive smile on their individual faces. Suddenly, Kaido transformed into a dragon, flying swiftly into the air. And just because he felt like it, he launched a powerful breath attack to an unsuspecting traveling ship, annihilating it in a single breath. "Joker!" He continued to cry despite being a massive dragon, circling the sky, with crackles of thunderstorm along his scales. On the depths of Onigashima, a young child watched as their father went on a rampage. They swore to themselves that as soon as they get out, they will enact their revenge. For they are Odin. "Moby, what do you mean by this, Thatch?" Whitebeard was now hooked into several breathing assistance devices. A small army of nurses taking care of him. He was angry beyond reason. "Pops, you have got to relax. Marco's gonna be mad if he found out you elevated your blood pressure." Thatch was apologetic, though he could not blame the outburst. "After all I've done to Fishman Island. They chose to betray me and join with that damned Mugiwara." Whitebeard started to cause crackle in the air. The sea around the Moby began to shake violently. "What the hell is going on?" Marco flew from his ship all the way to the Moby. "I'm here, Pops, what's wrong?" Jozu jumped the distance and landed on the deck, addressing the anger that his father was emitting. "Mugiwara has claimed the Sun Pirates into their rank. And now Fishman Island has raised Mugiwara's flag, swearing allegiance to the Straw Hats." It was Thatch who explained this to the rest of the crew, causing a round of murmur to circulate. "Pops, it's okay, we're really not in the position to wage war with other pirate crews at the moment, not with your help. We can't have the world learning that the great Whitebeard is deathly sick." This was coming from Vista, who arrived in a twirl of flower petals. "I agree with Vista, Pops. This time it was Blamenco, the pocket-wielding devil fruit user, not now. Come on, Pops, we should just lay low for now, we can gather our strength when you are healthy." A chorus of agreement came from the rest of the commanders within Whitebeard Pirates. "No," Whitebeard slammed his Bacento on the deck of the Moby. "The force causes the clouds in the air to split right through the middle. I must show that my power is absolute, that no cocky youngster will unseat me, nor let evil powers, such as Linlin and Kaido, gain confidence and start terrorizing my territories, pushing through my boundaries. I can't let that happen, and I will make an example of Mugiwara." With all the years lost, souping to his sickness, Whitebeard had a lot of pent-up anger within him. Anger against the world for being cruel with his lack. Little did he suspect that it was caused by one of his sons. "Pops, what are you saying? My sons? This is my command as your father." A brief pause before declaring his intention. "We are waging war with the Straw Hat Pirates." Marco, Thatch, Jozu, Vista and the rest of the commanders exchanged worried looks, but Whitebeard had a point. So with the war cry of their beloved Yonko, the Whitebeard pirate joined the war cry of the Emperor. Meanwhile, in the background of the celebration, Marshal D. Teach had a massive smile on his face. What about? No one but they would know. Then near Whitebeard, one of his most trusted children looked conflicted by this decision. He then faded into the crowd. Not one noticed his disappearance, for everyone was distracted. "My sons, we must now fight. Gather all our forces, call all our allies. We are going to find the Straw Hats and bring the might of the Whitebeard pirates through their damned throats." To this the Whitebeard pirates joined the father in exclaiming their support. though some remained skeptical of the consequence of a war of this magnitude. Water 7. It was now the next day as Luffy woke up to a wonderful sight. On his right arm was Boa Hancock, his very first love. Then on his right arm was Monet. Her green hair was resting across his arms as she tried her hardest to inch as close to him as possible. To round out the members on his bed were Robin behind Hancock, then Baccarat and Viola beside Monet. He sat up stretching his arms. What a wild night that was. He wondered why it was only now that he discovered women, for they are amazing, definitely better than meat. So Luffy got up, letting his ladies rest for the time being. He had a long day ahead of him, many places to be, lots of people to meet. To think that 2 years ago he was in an alternate timeline, one where Kaido nearly killed him, but successfully killed all of his allies. Yeah, it was fucked up, but now, he was given this chance to right his wrongs. Luffy looked back at his adventures, realizing the wild ride he's been in. As soon as he put on his attire, he made his way outside, saying goodbye to the robot which guards the hotel. "Good morning, Captain." He was greeted by Jem, who ran past him with a pile of wood on his back. Luffy waved and continued on, just looking around, meeting all the new recruits later. They are people he knew in his previous life, so all he really needed to do was sway them to his cause. Achieving true knowledge of the world will definitely make him the king of pirates, but really, all he wanted was the safety of his precious people. To do that he had to pad his crew into massive safety nets. These safety nets consist of some of the most formidable, powerful people that he knows. At least those which are attainable. There are some that will take some time before he can get to. Oye, Captain. This time, it was Macvis who graded him. The hulking powerhouse was a welcomed addition to his armada. Before, he was a nuisance, but now he really liked the guy. He waved at the man who was accompanied by Dice, a member of Guild's former crew. Luffy continued his walk when he spotted a woman in her 20s, hungrily going through plates. He knew exactly who it was and Luffy decided to welcome her on. "Ever breathe in between bites?" Luffy approached her. He immediately noticed her skimpy attire. "Shut the hell up, you don't know me," responded the girl. She continued to eat everything on her plate with ease. Her appetite was insatiable and yet Luffy was not bothered. Sure, well, my name is Luffy and welcome to the Grand Armada." "Whatever, I just want to meet this Mugiwara, see what he's about." She took a massive bite off of a drumstick and then pointed it at Luffy. "What are you doing here, Luffy?" "I just believe in the cause." Luffy did not tell the truth, but he didn't lie either. He was Mugiwara, but he wanted to mess with her for a bit. "But what's your name? It's not fair that you know mine and I don't know yours." "Jewelry Bonnie, the baddest bitch in all the seas." She then stopped eating as she felt full, a mountain of plates in her wake. "See you around, Luffy, take care of my tab for me." Bonnie gave him a kiss on the cheek and ran away. The shopkeeper tried to race after her with no luck. Luffy began to take out his purse full of gold coins, but the shopkeeper insisted that it was okay. Anything for Captain Luffy. He thanked them kindly but still left 3 times the amount of Bonnie's tab, got to help the local businesses. This woman was trouble, but the captain is taking a particular interest in her, Jewelry Bonnie. The 3rd unit recruited her by finding her in her home sea in the South Blue. With their unit, Lucci could afford to split his people into different teams to locate the targets in the list. Virgo was the one to locate her, heavily disguised, for he was hiding from the Marines. It was easy to sell her on meeting the captain, as she was interested in treasure. Plus she was also interested in what he wanted from her so badly. Luffy left the restaurant and made his way to a nearby bar. It was there where he found another new recruit. "You must be him, huh?" When Lucci came to me, I didn't believe that it could be possible. When Lucci was in Cypher Pole training, he was heartless. And to see him with a heart. Well, I just had to meet you." A long-nosed fellow acknowledged him without turning from his spot. The man wore a black hat, paired with black jumpsuit. He had a pink handkerchief over his breast pocket. In his hands was a cup of iced tea, and yet he held it like it was alcohol. "Am I who you thought I'd be?" Luffy sat beside the squared-nosed man. He then asked for a cup of ice water, something to keep his wits. "You're definitely shorter than I thought. Scrawny even. I just can't believe that Lucci would follow someone else, and totally give up his hunger for chaos. My name is Kaku, by the way." "I know who you are, I made that list. For a secret organization, Cypher Pole sure can't keep any information from the likes of you." "I guess not. Well, it was nice meeting you. I think I'll hang around, but I take orders from Lucci. I got it, keep in mind, he takes orders from me. Luffy gave Kaku a smile, to which the former Cypher Pole agent scratched his head. Yeah, huh? And with that Kaku left, leaving Luffy to finish his drink. Very strong, yet his allegiance could be anywhere. He will also be a powerful ally, Kaku. Lucci found Kaku in a bar in a similar manner as to how Luffy met with him. Kaku was found while in the middle of an espionage mission. Lucci offered him a way out and Kaku was immediately intrigued. So Kaku dropped his mission and left with Lucci. He was one of the first agents to disappear from the Cypher Fall agency. It was strange, for this time, Luffy was joined at the bar by a blue-eyes, blonde-hair woman wearing glasses. "May I sit here?" she asked. Luffy knew she meant business. "Sure." Luffy knew immediately who it was. He then looked at her and found that she was studying him. "So, you are Mugiwara then?" She joined Luffy and got her own drink, a glass of lemonade. "I saw you speaking with Kaku." "Yes, I am." "And you are?" He knew the answer, but it is only polite. "Khalifa. By the way, how do you know we are not here for Cypher Pole? That we did not take your crew up for their offer so we can infiltrate your division." Khalifa was very calculating, analyzing his every action to read what he is about. She was also straight to the point, just as he remembered. "I'll tell you what, if you were spying on me, then I'll figure it out eventually. Plus, what do I have that I want hidden from the world government?" Luffy was the one to get up this time, leaving a pouch of gold on the bar. Of course, more than what the glass of water was worth. Khalifa was taken aback by the rejection of the Straw Hat Captain, but she was now more interested than ever. Mugiwara. Fascinating. Khalifa spoke to a recording device. Day 7, made contact with the Straw Hat Captain. She then waved her hand over the bar counter and cleaned everything. Where her hands touched, the surface of the bar was spotless. Beautiful but deceitful, perfect for his crew of intelligence gathering, Khalifa. This time, it was Galdino who found Khalifa. He found her on a tip by Lucci on her last known location. She was sitting along a bench waiting for her contact when Galdino took the spot. Galdino went on and offered Khalifa a position. She thought about it, for some time, and eventually conceded to her curiosity. She agreed to go along with him to possibly join the Straw Hats. As a spy? Even she will not give an answer to that. Mugiwara, right? The ever-so-stylish underworld crime lord walked alongside the Straw Hat Captain. He puffed his cigar while having both hands behind his back. "When I heard from your messenger that you're interested in my services, why I could not believe it. You mean to tell me that the same man who took down Joker is interested in little old me?" "He is not my messenger but one of my crewmates." "Right then, well Mugiwara, I am here. What is so grand that I should stay?" "I got it. Tell you what, you can CHNG, and if you win, you take over the Grand Armada." Knowing full well of the man's ambition, Luffy took advantage of his prior knowledge in offering the entire fighting force of the Straw Hat Armada if he won in whatever he wanted to play. In terms of confidence, the Straw Hat Captain was not lacking one bit. At first, the man was taken aback by the bold request of the Straw Hat Captain, and yet his confusion was replaced by a smile. Who would pass up an opportunity to take over such a massive armada? "But if you lose, you have to work for me." Luffy finished his sentence, to which the underground powerhouse agreed. "Alright Mugiwara, you drive a hard bargain, so here is my game." His body suddenly had openings like castle doors, and Luffy was immediately surrounded by 10 soldiers who enlarged once going out of his body, each pointing a gun at him. "I'll just defeat you and really take your entire fleet." "Nice try, Big Butt." Luffy released a small wave of his Conqueror's Haki, knocking out the 10 soldiers around him. The power was enough to make Big fall on both knees. "You're 10 years too young to even think of challenging me." Once Luffy finished his words, Big fell flat on his face, overwhelmed by Luffy's Conqueror's Haki. The Straw Hat Captain coolly walked away from the passed-out bodies of the underworld crew. Very strong player in the underground world. Why would Captain be interested in this man? Capone Big. The underground world has been in turmoil for some time. Joker's death caused a massive black hole in the distribution section of the underground world. Capone, gang, Big was going to get in on the action but was instead met with Law and Corazon. He was surprised to see the brother of Doflamingo join the same man who killed him. "He was going to kill me anyway," Corazon explained. Their conversation was in broad daylight in the middle of a busy street, and yet they seemed to just be staring at each other. It was due to Corazone's devil fruit ability. It's true, I was there. Law tagged along Corazon as they made a good team, plus he trained him on how to use his new devil fruit ability. Ah, the proud new owner of the Ope no mi. I know you, Trafalgar Law. I got my contacts, his influence was wide, which is why Capone was so damn dangerous. Law took a heavy sigh when his real name was not revealed. Did Capone know that too? Mugiwara huh? Beeg opened his eyes, revealing his army behind them. An aged cigar over his lips. What do you say, boys? Wanna go mess around with pirates instead of the underworld? Cheers erupted from within the body of the living fortress. Beeg was on board, though his motive was to overtake the Grand Armada. Luffy then passed by a tall man, with a hairstyle that resembled the hair of a bull. Luffy smiled, remembering the time he had to take himself to the next level in order to defeat the door user. Not a word was uttered between them as they passed by each other, the bull-headed man not noticing that the Grand Armada captain just passed him. Blueno holed up. A dark-skinned man with stylish facial hair and long braided hair ran after Blueno. He also passed the Straw Hat captain without noticing him. Ah, Jabra, have you met him yet? Nope, but who cares, we're really here for Lucci. Jabra put his hands in the back of his head, and the two continued to walk. I'm glad you two are on board. Luffy commented to himself, moving along his journey throughout Water 7. But how am I going to ensure that you gain your destined fruit abilities? His abilities are perfect for infiltration, sort of similar to Brûlé. He'll definitely be a valuable ally, Blueno. Blueno entered through the front door of his safe house, one arm carrying groceries. He had to look normal despite being on a deep undercover mission. Blueno immediately realized that his window was open. Two figures sat on the other side of the room, playing a card game of all things. He knew this guy from training. He will be an interesting guy to convince, Jabra. Hey Blueno. One of the men was Jabra, who sat across from a familiar figure, one of which he thought was wiped out by Cypher Pole. Hey, this time it was Lucci who spoke, a cigarette over his mouth. Say you wouldn't want to come join me and become a pirate, would you? Blueno dropped all of the groceries, tears welling up on his eyes. He never thought he'd see his friend again. I'll go where you go, Lucci. Blueno stated with conviction. Blueno cared for the young Lucci as a brother despite his early mishaps, so did Jabra. The two took Lucci under their wing once they joined the academy all those years ago. That's what I said. Jabra joined in, dropping a straight flush with 9, 10, Jack, Queen and King. Although Lucci had a smirk on his face when he dropped a royal flush, beating his older competitor. Welcome to the Straw Hat Grand Armada, said Lucci with a smile. Luffy met all the new recruits. Some knew who he was, some did not. He had a grin over his face as his plan was coming along nicely, though he felt weird, something didn't seem right. His last stop was the dock, where his ship was being made. In his time in Water 7, he met Tom's apprentice, Iceberg, and Cutty Flam. Though he knew Cutty Flam as his super cyborg shipwright, Frankie. Now how exactly did he gain the trust of Tom and gain the favor of the entire Water 7 island? Well, 1.5 months ago. Water 7 Luffy and his queens arrived at Water 7, after a 2-week trip. In his company were Hancock, Robin and Viola. And their first stop was Tom. This is crazy if you ask me. We'll need billions of berry for this project. Alright, I understand. But can you start the skeleton of the ships with what money I have now, then we can talk once we have the money. Are you sure about this, Mugiwara? We can do as you ask, but what if you don't get us the money? Then that's just wasted resources and time. I guarantee that no such thing will take place. Tom was scheduled to be executed due to his refusal to give Spandam the blueprint for the ancient weapon Pluton. He was set to be freed by the judge for helping make the Oro Jackson, but instead he earned his freedom by creating the sea train. That is until he bumped head with the smug new head of Cypher Pole 9. Spandam hired people to steal the ships created by Frankie and launched an attack on Water 7. Tom took responsibilities for the crime and was now sentenced to death. Frankie attempted to intercept the sea train but was ultimately run over, left for dead. Though Luffy intercepted at just the right time, where Robin and Viola took care of Frankie, bringing him to the nearest hospital and ensuring that he survived. Luffy and Hancock took care of the guards along the sea train and retrieved Tom. Who the hell are you people? Spandam cowered at the arrival of Luffy and Hancock. All of the guards stationed along the sea train were either turned into stone, or beaten to a pulp. The four in the train carts were the only people who remained conscious for the encounter. Mugiwara, what are you doing here? I'm saving you, of course. Luffy commented with Hancock removing Tom's bindings. Luffy turned his attention to the poor excuse for a human being, and slowly approached him. Spandam continued to back down, trembling in his heel. He then left trails of yellow liquid on the ground as he quite literally pissed himself. Please, spare me. He fell on both knees, his clothes soaking in piss. I'm just following orders. Spandam. 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 Luffy stopped going forward, standing over the kneeling cipher pole leader. I should kill you. I should. But I won't, and if you ever step out of line again, I will find you, and I will kill you with my own hands, understand? To this Spandam teared up, crawling on the ground and grabbing Luffy by his shorts. Thank you. Oh, thank you. But Luffy wasn't going to let him off easy. He delivered a powerful kick straight through the guts of Spandam, sending him through the roof of the sea train and launching Spandam far through the ocean. If he doesn't survive. Tom was at a loss for words. Because you don't deserve to die, Tom. You are a better man than Spandam will ever be. With that, Tom was rescued. The entire Water 7 was indebted to Luffy, and Cutty Flam only lost his limbs, which was now replaced by mechanical ones. It could have been worst. Thus Luffy became the Savius of Water 7, which jump-started the development of his requested ships. He smiled at the memory and found Cutty Flam. Oi Frankie, how are you? Luffy went to join the shipwright who was working tirelessly on his ship. Ah Captain, you know, with you calling me Frankie all the time, I think I'm starting to like it. Cutty Flam, although better known as Frankie, commented, to which Luffy gave him a smile. By the way, Captain, as far as your ship goes, the crew have been working hard on it and it's almost ready. You know, when you proposed the plan for your ship, I could feel the ship as if it's part of my heart. It was as if you were digging into my deepest desire and figuring out the ship that I wanted to create. Frankie led him to the bay, where the familiar lion head was on the front of the ship. It looks beautiful. Luffy inspected the ship, looking over its details, just as he remembered it. Yeah, well, it helped a lot that you gave us so much money to work with. I never saw Sir Tom grant a massive loan a promise, but you are our savior. Frankie remembered the recent events and smiled. Hey Frankie, wild question here, but by any chance would you like to travel the sea? This way you can always watch the Thousand Sunny in order to keep it in top shape. Thousand Sunny. I love that name, it's super. He then rubbed his chin. Now his arms were noticeably cyborg arms. Unfortunately, Luffy didn't get to him on time. Alright Mugiwara. I will talk to Iceberg and Sir Tom first and take you up for your offer after. How about it? Sounds good to me. Luffy then shook the hands of the cyborg now known as Frankie. I'll be seeing you around. With that, Luffy moved on. The sun was finally beginning to set as his day was a long one. The Thousand Sunny was coming along nicely. Now Luffy began to think, where would the shipwright best work? Possibly the 6th Division. Though his thoughts were interrupted when suddenly a massive explosion occurred in the distance. He looked at the area where it happened. Swirls of blue and yellow flame launched all the way into the sky. Luffy immediately knew who it was, but why is he here? Without a second to waste, Luffy ran to the disturbance. What he saw was the bodies of Gem, Kurobi, and Tanaka were laid out. Then there was also Monet, halfway covered in snow as she was contradicting the flame with her abilities. She was struggling while the man continued to yell for Mugiwara. That was him. What does he want with him? Luffy immediately panicked, seeing Monet in the state that she was. Anger filled him and he dashed straight to the floating figure. He grabbed the man by the neck and immediately slammed him on the ground. Luffy's grip was tight, and no matter how hot the man's flames were, the blue and yellow swirls were no match for Luffy's absolute fury. What the hell do you think you are doing? Luffy's arms were covered in haki, his eyes gazing deep into the man's soul. Crackles of his conqueror's haki pressured the phoenix further. In that moment, Marco, in all his years with Pops, never experienced outstanding aura such as this. And it was then that he immediately knew Mugiwara was the real deal. And yet the phoenix was defiant. Let me go, he said between breaths. Pops is going to kill you all. If you don't. Here to warn you. The ease at which Mugiwara held him down was scary. To this Luffy let go, his eyes widening. The phoenix which he held down out of anger took a moment to catch his breath. "What did you say?" Luffy asked. In all of his planning, this he did not anticipate at all. Right when Luffy let go of Marco's throat, his commanders arrived, surrounding the lone Whitebeard pirate. Boa Hancock was immediately by his side, with Viola and Robin going to the injured. First Commander Katakuri arrived with 2 donut rings, his hands ready to swing at the captain's command. Monet's fallen figure caused Katakuri became enraged. She was a member of his division. Second Commander Mihawk was inches from piercing Marco's heart, Yuru lusting for some blood. Third Commander Lucci stood by Katakuri, his arms crossed and his eyes intently watching Marco. Fourth Commander Arlong had his newly acquired golden trident ready to throw. He found Kurobi on the ground, which angered him greatly. Fifth Commander Brook floated in the air, emitting cold air to keep him afloat. He looked down at Marco with the intent of battling him if he attempted to flee. Sixth Commander Crocodile joined Brook in the air, swirling in sand. Newly recruited commanders also joined the fold. Seventh Commander Guild arrived adjusting his suit in case he was needed. He noted that Tanaka was down, which irked him. Eighth Commander Haruden stood over the group, looking down at Marco with his arms crossed. "Does it get this interesting, Kishishishi?" The ninth Commander Gecko Moria arrived, with his scissor blade on both hands. His recruitment was interesting, and it took the combined effort of Lucci and Mihawk to bring him in. Fuck, that was a warlord. How was he going to get access to this person? Gecko Moria. A man leaned on the former Shichibukai. His shit-eating grin was massive. The newly appointed 10th commander of the Straw Hat Armada, specially requested by the captain himself. Former member of Roger's Pirate. The greatest of them all. The one, the only Buggy the Clown. His recruitment was easy once Galdino figured him out. He just buttered him up and he was immediately on board. "Get the hell off me, Buggy," said Moria by removing Buggy on his shoulder, causing the Bara Bara user to fall on his face. "You'll pay for that," claimed Buggy, shooting up immediately and threatening Moria with his knives. "What's up, Mugiwara? Been some time, eh?" A complete contrast to when he first met the clown all the way back in the East Blue. This Buggy was more of what he remembered back in his timeline, and Luffy was happy about that. This man was a former member of the Roger's Pirate. He needs to be cautious. Buggy, the clown. Marco looked around at the 10 commanders of Mugiwara's crew and coughed some blood, his airway finally opening up from the tight grip. "Pops. Mugiwara. He wants your blood for taking his territory." Luffy knew Marco long enough to know it was no bullshit, but to wage war on him. This was getting crazy. He wants to make an example of you for stepping on his toe, so to speak. Marco could speak a bit clearer now. He looked at the other commanders. Despite being powerful, he managed to piss off an entire armada with trying to warn them of impending doom. "Sorry about your people, they attacked me first." "Fuck." Luffy then brought out a golden mini Den Den Mushi on his pocket, and suddenly, his voice could be heard in all the speakers all over the island. "Emergency meeting. Be at the hall in 10 minutes. He looked at his commanders, who all nodded their head and left for the hall, his queens following shortly after declaring his announcement. Voices from all over the island buzzed in excitement as what the meeting was about. People began to rush into the hall and Luffy looked at Marco. "Come Marco, I'm going to need you there for this. You are seriously considering a war with Pops, are you?" Marco asked, joining Luffy in the walk to the meeting hall of Water 7. "My divisions are ready, my manpower is ready. Our ships are ready." Luffy looked at Marco with a smile. He then held the double door before opening it. So why not knock some sense into the old man to retire? The Luffy opened the door, revealing the entire fighting force of one Mugiwara, and Marco couldn't help but think, "Damn. Thank you all for coming." Luffy made his way to his seat, Marco walking beside him. This urgent meeting was called out of necessity. Luffy took his seat next to HSS. The entire Grand Fleet. All were from different walks of life. They were all united under his ambition, under his flag. For we are going to war with Whitebeard. The Straw Hat Grand Armada, with the first commander of the Whitebeard pirates as witness, has returned the declaration of war with one of the emperors of the sea. Mugiwara, Monkey D. Luffy vs. Whitebeard, Edward Newgate.